And we're live. We're, we're live. Welcome to Inside the Pylons coverage of the Citrus Bowl between Louisville and LSU. This will be our first type. Oh, we just went live right now, Sal. Looks like.
Let's
Look at
try
that.
it again then.
We just got the hot mic there. We got the hot mic. Looks like now we're really live. Welcome to
now we're really live.
Inside the Pylons Citrus Bowl coverage. Live on-air discussion about Louisville LSU. Here with Sal Conti and Ryan Ducarm from Inside the Pylon. This is the brainchild of Sal, so let's give him proper credit, right?
Absolutely. I guess so. I just figured out how to use Google Hangout about 5 minutes ago. So, how you doing, guys? Sal Conti, Inside the Pylon. Let's watch football.
Let's watch while Adrian Peterson is looking over our shoulder.
Yeah, with two healthy knees in that picture, mind you. But.
So we're hoping with this broadcast to really dive into both of these teams, not just in the context of what's happening in the game, but also what's happened this season, what they have to look forward to, as well as what's coming up in the NFL draft, because we're looking at this from many different vantage points. Sal, you were talking before we went on air that you were a couple of things. First of all, you looked at a lot of LSU tape this past week, and the other thing, you have a new nickname for Leonard Fournette.
Oh yeah, Leo. I guess I just started calling him Leo. Just a little shorter. I don't know if I invented the nickname, but
let's hope it catches on.
Yeah, I mean it's catchy. It's less syllable, if you will. But yeah, LSU is not. They don't have a shortage of pro-ready talent. A defensive side of the ball. You look at the two inside linebackers. You have Duke Riley. You got Kendall Beckwith on the inside. LSU is primarily a 3-4 defense, but their personnel allows them to be a 4-man front if they choose. In any case, you got to have two good inside linebackers to play in that defense. And Kendall Beckwith and Duke Riley are very good players in their own right. I like Deshaun Bowers, number 46. He's our outside linebacker. He'll play outside linebacker, 9 technique, gets a tight end. But also in dime, kind of rush situations when all the fast guys are on the field. He'll bump down, play a 3 technique. I like his hand usage in that situation. He's deceptively quick for 6'6", 240, 250, I believe he's listed at. And he showed good ability to cover backs out of the backfield. And that's going to be important today to kind of slow down all the short area stuff in the pass game that Louisville is going to put forward. As far as the back end, Tre'Davious White, lock up, cover corner. He's a real good player. And then number 33, Jamal Adams, is lights out. Someone's going to be very lucky to have him, assuming he comes out in the spring. He's a dynamic football player. You'll see him from the backside of runs, chasing stuff down. He's a ball hawk in the pass game. They can play him over the top. They can play him underneath. He's probably one of, if not the best player on this defense, and he's going to be all over the field today. Offensively, like you said, Leo, unfortunately not going to be in this game. He's obviously a great player. We're going to get a chance to see a non-eligible player in Darius Geis, who's really electric running back, can do everything schematically that Leo is asked to do, and see if he can help quarterback Danny Etling get into a rhythm and really move the ball downfield for LSU.
It's one thing we mentioned in Pylon U this week was the absence of Kendall Beckwith in this game, unfortunately, because it was a great chance for him on a national stage to show something against a tough Louisville offense. So he's going to be missed this game. And then Jamal Adams is a guy I've got currently ranked in my top 10 overall prospects for the NFL draft. Just like him a ton, can do a lot of different things on the field. Ryan, how much have you looked at Louisville this week as far as doing your homework on this game?
Not as much as LSU. LSU is just fascinating to me, both on offense and defense. A couple of notes I had coming in. They love max protection, sort of passing offensive schemes. They'll run 1 or 2 receivers. They do a lot of they'll run a vertical route with a receiver and then either a Y crossing route or a slot receiver from the opposite side, try and get into where the vertical route sort of cleared things out. And then they'll keep in a tight end, a running back, a fullback to block, which I think helps, younger, inexperienced, not as high level quarterbacks get comfortable. There's no chance of quick pressure when you do that, which I think is a good idea for them. And then, like Sal talked about, Jamal Adams, I mean, he's a stud. And one of the things I noted when watching was they don't have to adjust personnel as much. They don't have to bring in nickel, dime personnel for different situations because of all the things he can do. He can be a heavy run stopper when they need him to be, and they don't have to bring in extra guys for that. Or he can man up in the slot, which I think is super important for such a versatile player. And watching, I believe it was, let me see which game it was, the Auburn game and the Texas A&M game I was watching, and his ability to come down, play man coverage in the slot was huge for them. He flies all over the field. So those are two guys, they're sort of max protection schemes on offense, and just Jamal Adams on defense in general.
Right.
Are definitely things I'm looking for.
Well, I'll comment on Louisville, and I mean this is a team we've talked way too much about this year on Pylon U, almost to the extent that it seems like if they were, we have way too much stock in them in Washington. But there's no secret that Lamar Jackson is the most dynamic player, the Heisman Trophy winner in the country. I think the big question that we have is they show the injuries today. Tremaine Washington, Shaq Wiggins, two of the top four corners out. Josh Harvey Clemens, the safety, is doubtful. I don't think that's as big a deal against this LSU team just because they do have trouble pushing the ball down the field. I'd have more of a concern if it was someone in Louisville's front seven, but it does give them LSU more impetus to push the ball down the field. But back on Lamar Jackson and that offense, it is really going to be on Lamar Jackson in this game to not try to do too much. Because if you test Tre'Davious White and Jamal Adams on the back end and force something down the field that isn't there, you're going to get into trouble. Because this LSU defense can take that and run with it. So that's the thing I'm looking for. I hope that Lamar Jackson is able to settle on Brandon Ratcliffe and Cole Hicatini and settle for some underneath routes rather than try and push it down the field. But we'll see. He's got to be the dynamic self, but at the same time, he's got to be patient. And there's Danny Etling, a Purdue transfer. 2 Purdue transfers in the SEC this year. Something that, as a Big Ten guy, I thought I'd never see.
Yeah, seriously. And I think first play of the game, Ryan talked about it, gotten 21 personnel and play action pass, gotten max protection, and throw it up to the dude. Made a big play.
Great catch, too. Walling off the quarterback.
Testing him right off the bat. I mean, you're missing two of your starting corners. Why not? And the problem we've seen all season with LSU has been they've got 2 guys out there in Durrell and Dupree who can make plays. It's just been a matter of getting them the ball and finding a quarterback that can do that because they really are. I mean, they're going to recruit All-American receivers, and the biggest knock against Les Miles has always been developing that quarterback. And Etling's at least been competent for them.
As I watch, right. As I watch Darius Geis run for this first down, this goes for really any bowl game, especially played after the 20th or so of December. That really, get a waiting period. I want to see how well both these teams tackle. I'm not sure how much they've practiced live tackling in practice in the weeks since they've last played a game. But especially when you're playing against an elite runner and Darius Geis, you better be able to wrap him up, bring him down. Arm tackles aren't going to do it in this kind of game. So I'll be interested to see how both these teams tackle because that'll be very important. Full power run. And going back to what you guys said about Etling, as far as getting the ball out of his hands and getting him into a rhythm, LSU's done a very good job. I mean, obviously, when you have 2 of the best running backs in college football, that doesn't hurt a bit. But as far as the run-pass option stuff, I would not be surprised if we see that called upon today, depending on how they line up to certain base sets. Okay, if they cover down the trips, which means they line up a guy over each trips receiver, maybe not throwing a bubble is a good idea. But they have shown throwing that. They will throw RPOs where they will show outside zone or pin pull scheme to one way, throw a slant the other way. If one of those linebackers gives a pull read, I'm sure getting the ball out of his hands quick is something that LSU is interested in doing against this Louisville front.
For sure. And that's the same thing as like the max protect. It's like it's not letting pressure affect the throw. It's it's keeping things clean up front.
Absolutely. See it again here. There's the hitch concept.
Yep.
3rd and 6. Louisville will primarily send 4 or 5 from what I've seen. Later in the game or after a couple 3rd downs, so they'll send them from different places, but not a ton of exotic, 6 or 7 pressures.
No, they're pretty confident with the athletes they have up front to just do their base stuff and get it done that way.
Right. You see here, they look like they walked a guy up, but it ended up being a 4-man rush, and that's a big victory for that defense. Big thing for LSU, ball control. Keep Lamar Jackson off of the football field. Keep him off the field. You got a running back to do it. You got a good O-line. Ethan Pokic, I believe is how you pronounce it. Not totally sure. But he's a big guy to run the pivot. He'll be in Mobile, big, long arms, physical, fits for all the outside run stuff they like to do. He's a good player. And oh boy,
that was.
I tried to kick a PAT in Madden yesterday. It looked a lot like that.
Oh,
hopefully Chuck doesn't see that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man, that was brutal. But going back to that third down throw, they got a little bit of pressure in his face, and you could just see the quarterback's feet sort of, stuttering almost, like a little uncomfortable with everything. He wasn't forced to run out of the pocket, but he didn't look super calm and sort of rushed everything. It looked like,
right.
That's a big stop, like right off the bat, and then just an ugly kick to keep it at zeros.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty bad. I'm not going to pretend like I've ever kicked before, but I'm sure he'll get back into a rhythm.
It's like me on the golf course.
Yeah, I could say the same. I think there's a little bit of jitters going on at that quarterback position. He'll be able to settle down, though. He's a guy who, when he's playing at his best, that's Danny Etling. He'll be able to facilitate the offense and get the ball where it's supposed to be. You got some good, big, physical outside receivers that can make plays, and you got that back in the backfield. You don't have to be Peyton Manning. Just get the ball where it's got to be.
A lot of the rest of this game, it'll be interesting to see how Louisville approaches this drive, because if they're able to move the ball easily, LSU could be in trouble if they're not capitalizing on opportunities like we just saw.
Right.
That's going to be, because they're going to have trouble if they're stuck on running the ball. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to hang with Louisville if they start putting up points.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah, Louisville's definitely more explosive. If they get ahead, I don't know if LSU is built to throw the ball quick and downfield and really put up points quickly. So that'll be interesting.
They definitely are more comfortable playing at their own pace from what I've seen. I think defensively, I want to see LSU's front/run defense versus that Louisville offense. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's an outstanding player, but Louisville's defense, even without Kendall Beckwith, Duke Riley, you're going to see number 4. Duke Riley was wearing number 4 in honor of Joe McKnight, I believe, by the way. But you're going to see number 4 all over the field today for White. He flies to the ball, takes good angles, good speed, tough, inside, outside run. He doesn't look like the biggest of guys, but he's going to get the job done. I'm really excited to see, going back to what you said, Ryan, about Jamal Adams when you were talking about him, as far as the versatility that he gives them as far as getting different people on the field in pass rush situations. Tashawn Bowers can be a 9 technique and base in their 3-4 defense. And then when they go to nickel, they can keep him on the field, a 6'6", 250-pound 9 technique, and bump him down to a 3.
Right.
So he can pass rush. So that adds tremendous value to their defense. And we'll be seeing him a good deal today. Sean wrote a great article on Louisville's double wing sets. I would be shocked if we didn't see any of those in this opening set.
I loved all the stuff they did out of that too. They got the option, like the inside zone read. That was sort of like the basic play, but then they mixed things up. They ran it to both sides. They got motion involved. That was a really good piece and something Louisville loves.
Right. They showed counter out of it in their opening script against Kentucky. Offensive line, nobody pulled in the offensive line. They used both the tight ends off the line of scrimmage as the pullers.
Yeah.
Pin pull to start the game here.
Now, here's a question for both of you. Knowing that LSU's strength is really in their back 7, they're one of the best defensive backfields in the country. How would you approach it if you're Louisville?
I think you say how would I approach LSU? I would approach LSU's defense by doing what got us here. We have the Heisman Trophy winner quarterback. We have a very, very multiple run game. I would not force Lamar Jackson to chuck the ball downfield. They do like the drop back pass game in second and medium and third situations. So you go drop back here. But the basis of their play calling are going to be quarterback runs, read plays, and any play where, depending on the formation, they like the angles they have on the inside or the outside. So I think while there's some very talented players on this LSU defense, Louisville just needs to play their game and do what got them here, because it's going to work.
Yeah, I like what you said about, like, I think establishing a run game up front and showing you can sort of win battles one-on-one against LSU's defensive line. Even if they don't go for huge runs, I think that'll be huge. Wow, LSU is swarming right now. They're their defense, everybody's flying to the ball. But I think, like we saw in the opening play, like a nice pin pull run, get things established, show who can win the one-on-one battles. I think that'll be really big for them.
Right.
Also be interested to see when Lamar Jackson tries to escape the pocket, how well they do containing him. We saw earlier the first drop back he had, they wrapped him up pretty well, but it'll be interesting to see if he can break any on plays like that.
Missed a throw there and paid for it.
Oh,
that's the one aspect of their drop back game that makes them unique. Is that for the most part it's effective because on the play there is no dropping back. It's Lamar Jackson being the Heisman Trophy winner and making a play with his feet. He can make any throw on the football field, but that's what makes him a complete pain to game plan against, is that you can have everything covered up in the back end, and then someone misses a rush lane or someone misses a play in the backfield, and there goes 6'3", 200 pounds in the open field. Oh, boy.
Now, have either one of you formulated an opinion on Lamar Jackson as a pro prospect yet?
I think as of right now, it's mainly just anecdotal. I'm going to wait to do all the legwork when he's eligible.
Right.
But I think right now, as far as what traits I see, he has very good athletic ability. He's got a good arm, good frame to build, even more next year leading up to the future. I think he's a solid decision maker, and I think he has a lot of tools to work on. He's definitely going to need next season to build on that and continue to show that to develop his poise, his pocket presence, and his overall accuracy, especially when throwing in the face of pressure, how that may or may not affect his mechanics, upper and lower body. So that's something I'll be looking for him next year. But and the athletic ability, the burst, the explosiveness, the ability to make plays in big-time games, all those things can't be denied. And the fact that he was recognized as the Heisman Trophy winner can't hurt a bit either. So he's a player.
Yeah, it's when I've heard people call him just an athlete, it bothers me, because I think he does have a lot to offer in the pass game. Obviously, a lot to work on. Some of his mechanics, he does let ball sail every now and then, and that's the big piece. He missed some throws. As many throws as he made, he left some out on the field because he tended to sail his receivers. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in the offseason, how he handles being the defending Heisman Trophy winner, because it's always been tough, and there's been very few people that have won the Heisman have come back and had just as good a season, or if a better season, in the next year. Right. I think I was looking back and seeing typically Heisman Trophy winners the next season didn't finish in the top 5 in voting the previous year. So that if that bears out, we're going to be seeing someone else other than Lamar Jackson hoist the trophy last year. But at the same time, he could come back, have a solid season, and maybe show more pro traits, but not have as big a numbers. Because I think it's going to be hard to come back and have as big a numbers as he had this year.
Right. I think, speaking of Heisman candidates for next year, one guy you may see on that list is Arden Key, 49 for LSU.
Going defense.
Yeah. All right. Little segue there, huh? He's not eligible this year. I believe he's a true sophomore. I just remember last year, the bowl game, he lined up at D end against LaRaven Clark and did some miserable things to that offensive line. Playing more of a linebacker spot in Dave Aranda's defense now, and Coach Aranda's scheme. But speed, size, long arms, can bend, has good cornering ability, plays well versus the run. He's able to go back and cover now. Lamar Jackson's got to know where 49 is on every play.
Well, credit where credit due is, because Shane was talking about him since the start of the season. I believe had him as preseason All-American.
This is true.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
Well, can y'all hear me?
We sure can.
Good. Okay.
Merry
What were y'all-
Christmas to you, Shane.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. What were y'all talking about?
Football.
Your love of Arden Key.
Arden Key is really good at football.
Drop in for that comment. Head on home. That's all you got to do, right?
I'm gonna back out.
What is all that Coach O has done for this program? Seeing his press conference and looking at the impact that he seemingly had on his guys. You gotta admire that.
Yeah,
he's done the one thing that I thought it was imperative that he do, which is insulate himself with X's and O's coaches on both sides of the ball. Dave Arianda, Matt Canada coming in. Those guys are premier talents on their side of the ball, and he can just be the statesman, the recruiter, the rah-rah guy. I think what got him in trouble at Ole Miss was he didn't know how to be a head coach, and now I think he's learned from that.
Yeah, and the continuity they're building by keeping Ed O there, just bringing in different coordinators, and then all the guys coming back next year, if they can, keep a good season's worth of consistent play from Danny Etling, there's a lot there for LSU next year.
No doubt, not a doubt.
I think the SEC was in a transition period this year, maybe last year too, but next year seems like a lot of teams are going to be younger. There's going to be stronger quarterback play. So I think you're going to see some of these teams that were dropped off the last couple of years be at the top of the conference and high in the polls. And so LSU, as good as they are, they've got to figure out the quarterback spot because no one else is sitting around waiting on, just letting them be good. Everybody else is getting better.
I feel like we just blinked and it's 4th and 1.
That went quick.
Opening play, it looked like, LSU's pretty consistent staying in who they are, staying in a mixture of 21 and 22 personnel and run the ball downhill. It's some misdirection stuff, formationally getting some good space and then using backfield action to send a defense one way and sending Darius Geist the other way. They're going to play a patient ball game. They're not going to rush their deal. They're going to hand 5 the ball and get him the ball any way they can out of the backfield. Not as much isolation run yet. Something they showed more when Leo was in the game, Leo Fournette. You go back and watch that Missouri game. The run game didn't change a whole lot much, I felt. But it looks like they're doing some different things, some one-back stuff, some misdirection deals that I think are giving them some good yardage. And again, I want to see how Louisville can tackle. It looks like they've had some struggles getting him down at the second level. Should be interesting to see how that matchup, Darius Geist in the open field, plays out as the game goes on.
I'm really interested to see what this offense looks like last year when Shane brought up Matt Canada coming in. This offense is going to look different. And there was people harping that they wanted an offensive guy as the head coach at LSU. Well, you know what? You basically got the number 1 offensive coordinator this year in college football to come in. And like Shane said, Ed O can be that statesman. But it's really going to look different than other LSU offenses we've seen. So that's a big thing going into next year is that, and for the better because LSU's offense this year was dismal outside of giving the ball Darius Geist and Fournette. They had very little in the way of the passing game. They had very little other options other than handing the ball off. So they're going to be more diverse. They're going to I think they'll be able to put the ball in multiple players' hands, and it'll be interesting to see.
I think one comment he made that stood out, and I'm paraphrasing here, but someone asked him in the press conference, Coach Canada, that is, how is this LSU offense going to look? Is it going to look different? This, that, the other thing. And he said, it really all depends on the players because the players dictate what we're going to run. Obviously you have to have some kind of structure, and this offense next year probably will look a little different. They'll probably shift the motion a good deal, like he did at Pitt and at Wisconsin. But I think the biggest thing is I think Coach is going to fit that offense to the players he has, and that's why he's had success thus far.
That's a good point. I think year 2 and 3 of LSU will look different than year 1 because a lot of these guys or a lot of coaches have come in and try to just implement their system. But if you don't have the personnel for that system, you're losing before you take a snap. And so I think Canada will make the offense different. It'll be more efficient, and probably do some more advanced stuff in the passing game. But I think it'll be a gradual process, similar to what you've seen in Alabama. Alabama year 3 is much different than year 1 under Kiffin, because he let his personnel kind of dictate the style to an extent every season. I think smart coaches do stuff like that.
It could be argued too, like this LSU personnel is probably tailored more for a Matt Canada type system than it is for the current one they have.
Yeah. I would like to see I would love to see Doral and Dupree one more year with Canada. Just to see if they could finally, kind of break out of that glass ceiling they've been under. Not that it's their own fault that they've been under that glass ceiling.
Well, that's not a bad way to start the drive. Get into a 7-man protection and go one-on-one downfield. I'm not sure which safety that was, but looked like just a skinny post.
Looks like y'all are about 5 seconds ahead of me. That's Alabama U-verse for you.
I think I'm running a little behind too.
Everything moves slower in Alabama.
I'm still looking at Tom Luginbill's belt buckle.
Oh, are you still looking at him reset the profile on swing passes?
Yes. God, he throws a beautiful deep ball.
Yeah, good protection.
Just
7-man pro, play action, and hit them where they ain't.
There's been a few times this year when that ball's hit off the face mask of Louisville receivers.
Yes, that is correct. In the red zone right now, what are you going to do to get Lamar Jackson the ball? Or get him easy situations with the ball, I should say. Not just as a runner, but as a passer. Because he's not just an athlete.
Ooh. Try to do it there. Try to go with a throwback.
And this is going to be a bootleg on behind. Yep. Okay.
Going back to the just an athlete deal, if you're calling him just an athlete, you're discounting his ability to make big plays in big-time situations. Yeah. Regardless if he's running or throwing or going through progressions, like just athletes don't do that. I don't think just athletes win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. I think like Greg Ward and PJ Walker, 2 quarterbacks come to mind. I think they're more athlete than quarterback, playing quarterback. I think Jackson's a legit quarterback talent that's a world-class athlete.
Getting empty here, and that's pretty good coverage, and ideally you'd like to see the receiver haul that in, but that's a tough one. You got to win there. I don't think the ball was an issue there, the ball placement.
Yeah, the Louisville receivers are big and skilled and fast, but they've had struggled with the drops this year and making plays. And even the 50-50 balls that aren't a guaranteed catch, the good receiver is going to come down with that or make a play on the ball. And they just haven't had that. I don't know if they have any NFL level guaranteed receivers on this team right now. If there's one guy they go to in difficult situations, it's Cole Hicatini, the tight end. He's probably the most sure-handed receiver they have. Yeah. So I'm surprised they haven't tried to get him involved yet. But on Lamar Jackson, Sal, you were talking about people looking at him as just an athlete, and Shane, you mentioned some other quarterbacks who are just athletes. It'll be interesting to see next year with Jackson if he approaches the year. We talked with Mark Schofield the other night in Pylon U about this. If he approaches the next year and decides to run less, perhaps he acts like more of a passer, knowing he's got, this is his year before the NFL draft. Because I believe we saw Deshaun Watson run it about 40% less this year than he did last year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Petrino's systems are so quarterback friendly that I think that they could do something like that while not losing production in terms of yardage and big plays. They could supplement some of these runs for throws with yards after the catch kind of built into it. So, yeah, I think that would be smart. Keep him healthy, develop him as a quarterback.
I just saw a highlight of Georgia Tech, Kentucky. Looks like Kentucky's not having a good go of that right now.
Yeah. Don't tell Mark Schofield.
Yeah. No. Well, hey, I was just about to say Kentucky had a good plan versus Louisville. They played a good ball game, and they got in a wildcat. They got into unbalance. They shifted emotion, and they forced Louisville to think a little bit. And that quarterback is a good player. I'm not sure what his name is. He's a player. He can get the ball downfield. He's tough. He can run around. He's pretty good.
Is that Nesbitt?
Looks like pretty. Say it again.
Is that Nesbitt for Georgia Tech?
No.
Ooh.
Dude for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Dude for Kentucky.
Stanley Johnson.
Stanley Johnson.
It looks like on that deep pass for Louisville that they got Jamal Adams on a corner post, and he was wide open. That was a good route right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to back mine up. I want to look at this again. I probably can't tell what okay, yeah, I can. He just got turned around.
Yeah. Whether it was
I've got two just, and they could be big flaws. I don't think they will be, but Adams in coverage, I don't think he's the most fluid guy. And then he is a very overreactive guy, which when you're flying downhill, I think, a lot of coaches probably want your guys to fly to the ball, but he does tend to overplay the play. And it's probably because he's always been the best athlete on the field and can get away with it.
Right.
But if you're trying to scout safeties, which is so hard to do, you don't want your safety. I don't think you want your safety living and dying by those kind of plays.
Because then plays like that pass, like a corner post, that's where he's going to get burned.
And I think we saw that with Landon Collins last year, kind of transitioning to the NFL. And look at him this year. If you're a good enough player, you'll get it. You'll pick it up. Right. I think Adams is, but that is something he's going to have to watch early on.
I wonder if that's something that's inherent in all strong safeties as they transition, or most strong safeties as they transition from college to the pros. Is that in college you can kind of be a little more aggressive, where I think in NFL you have to be a little more patient.
Yeah.
Landon Collins is a terrific example, and he's coming out and arguably Defensive Player of the Year this year in the NFL.
Yeah. And I look at like Malik Hooker and Eddie Jackson at Alabama and Ohio State. Those guys seem to be very, maybe a lot more, but more technically sound right now than Adams. I think if you look at Adams, what he could be and what he does in the run game and coming downhill, he's spectacular. But Hooker and Jackson seem to be more solid as far as coverage and football IQ. And they're a different style of safety, so I don't want to be totally unfair to Adams.
Yeah. And this Louisville front can swarm, man. They are. People talk about
sack.
People talk about LSU, and LSU's front or defense is great, but this Louisville defense for most of the year was right up there with the premier defenses. But it was just their consistency over the course of the season.
No doubt. Especially you get there aren't many 2 plays on the call sheet for 3rd and 24. I'm going to be wrong. But,
unless you're Dalvin Cook and you want to run a draw for 60.
Yeah.
How good was he, man? How good was he last night?
That was fun to watch.
He's a player.
Yeah, Cook is # good at football. We say that a lot on Pylon.
Oh, my goodness. No flag? Nope. Yes, there is a flag.
Ooh. Is that a late flag?
I believe they're going to get running into the kicker, which would only be a 5-yard penalty if I'm not mistaken. Not automatic first down. But LSU is not afraid to put the ball in Ettling's hands in the pass game, though. Came out with a 3-level stretch concept and hit a wide open dig or some kind of crossing route over the middle of the field to Dupree for a big first down, running into the kicker. Okay.
Since we're going to probably run into a commercial here pretty soon, for the three of you, something that's been on my mind that I want to throw out there is, we talk about motivation in these bowl games when there's really nothing on the line. We're talking about, the real only thing with the line is the playoff games. Those are guys that have something at stake still. Other than those guys that are trying to prove themselves in the draft. If you're a coach, how do you motivate your guys, or what do you say, or how do you approach that month layoff between the regular season and the bowl games to keep them focused? Because it just seems like you really can't tell which teams are going to come out focused, which teams are going to come out kind of lackadaisical.
I think Coach Saban came out and made a good point about this in reference to using collegiate play as a platform for NFL draft stock, I guess you could say, or potential. That anytime you play in a football game, and I'm paraphrasing here, anytime you play in a football game, or especially a bowl game, with more eyes on you, it's not just a regular season game. It's a bowl game or a playoff game, and you play very well, I don't think that hurts your chances. With that being said, I think it's a case-by-case deal. I don't think it's a situation where you have to – it's not like you're recruiting a guy. It's, you go through all the work in the winter and the spring and all the non-football things that you're supposed to do, and you commit all that time to this. So, playing in one of those games is special no matter, in my opinion, which one it is. And to be able to lay it all on the line with your brothers one more time for your coaches, I think that's very important. But with that being said, I'm not going to pretend like I know the medical circumstances of the two notable players that have bowed out of bowl games this year. It's not my business. It's not a black and white deal. I think there's a reason for each side. But again, I think there's nothing wrong with, acknowledging that this is probably your last time to strap it up with your brothers and lay it all on the line and commit yourselves to the team. So, I think there's more than one way to skin the cat here.
I think coaches look at it in terms, if you're not playing in the Rose Bowl or a New Year's Six Bowl, I should say that. If you're not playing in New Year's Six Bowl, you're probably looking at it as a primer for 2017. I've heard several coaches say before they treat this like a 2017 winter ball game. You're winning the game for today, but you're also building momentum, for the next season. Louisville and Houston both did that last bowl season. So I think today means a lot, Scott, especially for LSU. Think about what a win over Louisville would mean to them in terms of hotness for recruiting, right, momentum into the spring. They could use all the positive big wins they can get right now. So I think that's how you have to treat it for the underclassmen that'll be back.
Yeah, and I think an interesting part of it is going into it is like, this is your last game with this group, right? Because every year guys are graduating, guys are leaving school, either for the draft or just, the end of college football career. So I think that's part of it is like, this is your last time with this specific group. You've gone through so much during the year, which I think is a good way to sort of motivate a team. I mean, you saw with LSU today, they came out flying all over the field. It was like, clearly they're motivated, regardless that it isn't a playoff game. Like, they're trying to win this thing. Not that Louisville isn't by any means.
No doubt.
That was close on that punt return.
Yeah, this is going to be a field position game, no doubt. Any team that can get better field position to begin each drive. I have a feeling that's going to weigh heavily on the outcome of the ball game.
There we go. I like this quick game idea by LSU.
Yeah, I agree. Get the ball out of Etling's hands quick, get him some confidence, but also, on the last drive, they didn't show any hesitance to try and get the ball downfield or, let them read some progressions and get the ball in the intermediate area. Now slow it down now, getting some 21 personnel and giving the ball to 5 ain't a bad idea either.
Well, you could do worse, yeah.
We were talking about this earlier when Fournette was in the game and you could put Leo Fournette at fullback and Darius Geis in the dot back.
Yeah.
Have fun game planning for that set.
Sure.
That's the They're the most terrifying fullback in the flat in the SEC. 12 personnel. Oh, we got some movement.
Looked like it was Louisville, excuse me.
I don't know if it was as blatant as yesterday's offsides call.
Oh,
Or lack thereof.
yeah. Guys, who y'all going with tonight?
I'm rooting for a good game.
Yep.
And I think that's what we're going to get.
You gonna make a pick, or do you even care?
Oh, I care. I care a
Okay.
lot. I'll be watching those games. I'll watch every second of those games. But man, even that first game, I know everybody has their opinion on who's going to win. But I think you look at the coaching staffs for each four of these teams. Coach Pete, Coach Saban, Coach Meyer, Coach Swinney. Like, I mean, those are four very good staffs in college football who've done a great job, building those programs up. So, and they all have good players at, their own respective spots. And Washington, it's the quarterback and the run game, and that defense flies to the ball. Bama speaks for itself, what they've been able to do with a true freshman quarterback who, has electric playmaking ability with his feet. That D-line is tremendous. But if you want to talk about D-line, you can go over to Clemson, look at theirs as well. Because they give teams problems.
Ridiculous. Yeah, Watkins, Wilkins, and Lawrence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They give teams problems. They're so multiple. They can line up in any defense they want. They can change at the tip of a hat and be able to give you a different set of problems. So, and then Ohio State, they've been there before. They're well coached, obviously. The quarterback, JT Barrett's a big-time player. Well, you go back to tackling the open field and how that can affect. I hate sound beating a dead horse, but that should have been a 6 or 7 yard gain and turned into a 15-yard gain.
Whew. Dearest guys, man.
Yeah,
that's not a bad player to tackle right there now. That's a football player. You want to talk about good running backs in the draft, wait till he's eligible.
That was a really cool design they had there too.
Yeah.
They got 83, the receiver, in as like a fullback. They motioned him in, ran him out to the flat then, which was like really stretched them horizontally, and then got the right side of the offensive line to the second level immediately. And then, I mean, Geis. Like he got them that play, but it was a really cool design too.
Right.
This is a really cool opportunity for Geis because I feel like those in tune with college football know who he is, but it's really in this national stage finally with Fournette not playing.
Right.
He's maybe going to open up some minds.
No doubt. I think he ran for, I don't remember the exact number, but did he hit was it over 300 or over 200 yards against Missouri? I'm not sure, but all I know is it was a triple-digit number that was far, far too big for any defense. And he ran the ball really, really well. So the nation has seen him run the ball a little bit. And I think Coach Canada has he alluded to this in his press conference, but it certainly helps to have a back like that who can create and get the ball where it's supposed to be. It's not like he's just running around roughshod and making plays. He can follow his read. He'll go where the fullback tells him to, and if he's in a one-back deal, he'll go wherever the line tells him to go, and so to speak. He's going to be a tough out, no doubt.
Those Buffalo Wild Wings patches in their jerseys are obnoxious.
They are.
Should have pointed that out. That's scouting.
I like Buffalo Wild Wings. It's solid.
It's good. It's overpriced. I like it.
What would you get there, though? What's your favorite?
All I've ever gotten at Buffalo Wild Wings is boneless honey barbecue. So
I can't blame you. They're very good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. I live right beside one here in Mobile too. So
right. Speaking of Mobile, the guy I'm interested in seeing outside of the Heisman Trophy winner is Jamari Staples. Talk about checking the box off for size. He's got that. About 6'2", 6'3", 210. Big, athletic, long arms, especially in the red area. When asking Lamar Jackson to make a play with his arm, we'll probably be looking for Jamari Staples in that area of the field.
Sal, are you coming down?
I sure am.
All right, man.
It's going to be a good time. Watch some ball and
Yep.
get some minds together. How bad could it be?
Good food. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, the good food part, man.
Jeff, I'll send you some pictures of it.
That whole strip is unbelievable food-wise. Right near, what's it called? The Riverview.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Causeway.
It's a little different than Connecticut.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
I'll be there in 2018.
Connecticut?
No, never.
Oh, don't say never. How bad could it be, huh?
Hartford, beautiful.
It is.
Our friend Joe Marino's judging me on Twitter for my boneless wing take.
Oh, come on,
Wow.
Joe.
Immediate pushback.
What's so wrong with boneless wings?
I'm right there with the boneless wings. I just go with the hot barbecue.
Look, if I'm at a real barbecue spot, I'm getting wings with bone in. That's how you do it. But Buffalo Wild Wings isn't like traditional barbecue, so I'm going to go boneless.
I don't know if I'll always go bone in, but I don't know how you don't like those boneless barbecue wings. They're extremely good.
It's the Fournette and the Geist debate in food form. There's not a lot of, they're both right answers. It's just preferential, whatever.
Oh, boy.
The bone in?
There you go. A team just scored, but I won't say who because I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
For the run.
Oh, wow.
Use motion as eye candy, and
Yeah.
they're loading the box. Plain simple.
That is not overthinking it. That's let the defense react to our best player, and then let's throw behind them.
It's a variation of Spider 2Y banana right there.
Yeah.
Big drive for LSU. Get some points on the board. Get some confidence in the quarterback. Yeah, that's a good drive right there. Methodical. Get the ball downfield on their own terms. Get forced into third and long. Don't get forced into second and long. That play call sheet expands, but you can keep it 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, situations like that. Put your quarterback in easy situations.
You need to make that a resolution for 2017 is to have more football teams not overthink the goal situations like that.
Yeah.
They can still be creative while also being simple.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, the execution level in the red area has to be, at its highest. And keeping it simple, I don't think LSU's had a shortage of good football players. They could have easily handed it to 5 there, and I'm sure there's a good chance they would have had a positive result. But again, knowing what they have, having a plan, sticking to it, that's what execution is. Good job of that right there. So hopefully they can keep that up. I also wouldn't be surprised if we get some receivers in the mix down in the red zone. Jamari Staples on one side, Malachi Dupree on the other. Definitely posing a misadvantage for the defense. They're, if you really look at that offense, they're quite multiple, and especially in that condensed area, they can get you in a couple different ways. So it's definitely an advantage for Louisville, for LSU at this point.
I think that was the thing that frustrated, I know Jeff and I, was that, in theory, LSU can do some very multiple and complex and unique things, even with their quarterback play, but they just didn't. They were just so vanilla and predictable early on that, they got them some losses. And you saw on that play right there, you can do fundamental football and make it creative and get a good result.
Absolutely.
And I think, like with Jeff, I think Pittman to win the national title. I had them with one loss, which is to Alabama. And I think the reason that we were so hot on is because we thought they would play that way. And then, of course, they didn't.
No, not exactly.
It got routine. It was run left, run right, throw on third down, and then punt the ball away.
Right.
Or it was it was throw to the other team early in downs and give the ball away. They were just madly inconsistent. You can put that defense up there with Alabama's. I wouldn't say they're better than Alabama's, but you put them up right there with them. And obviously, from an offensive standpoint, they've got two outstanding receivers. They have two NFL running backs. They have an NFL caliber offensive line, and just the quarterback is the missing piece. But evidently, if you need a quarterback in the SEC, you go to West Lafayette, Indiana.
Yeah, cradle of quarterbacks.
Bob Greasy and Jim Everett and Rick Breeze. And that's it.
Let's see if LSU's front four can continue to apply pressure on Lamar Jackson. Done a solid job of it so far. It's more so in this type of game, I feel less about pressure and more about pressure and discipline in your rush lanes.
Yep.
Because you can force him out the pocket, but if you miss a rush lane, boy, he's going to be running for a while.
From what you guys have seen the first couple of drives from Louisville and how LSU has gone up, how would you approach this drive right now with Louisville from a play calling standpoint?
Louisville's offense. I think they've had a good plan so far. I think they haven't shown too much quarterback run stuff. I know versus Kentucky's defense was similar, it looks like, structure-wise with their 3-4 personnel, but with the ability to play 4-down looks. And you saw Louisville open it up pretty early with the quarterback run, the power read stuff. This formation right here, actually, it's a double wing set, but the two wings are on the same side of the formation. Louisville ran this last week in their opening script against Kentucky, but they started off with one wing on either side of the line of scrimmage. They motioned one over, and then they ran counter back to the weak side. What it allows it to do is the offensive line is blocking a gap scheme, which means they're trying to run through one gap. But nobody's going to pull because they have two tight ends in the game to do that. So you see that here. I think continuing to use, chess pieces, move those tight ends, move those backs around, create space in the run game. They have good backs who can hit the hole. And, looks like I spoke too soon. They're going right back to it, the quarterback run stuff. This is starting to look a lot like the Kentucky game. Taking advantage of space up front, reading those 5 technique DNs. If there's a tight end in the game to the power side, you can arc up to a corner. You can block that front side linebacker, create some expansion, and really isolate that 5 technique and force him to be a disciplined football player. It's third down right now, 3rd and 4. It's empty, so really the playbook's wide open. Is it an RPO where they, can throw a ball out in the perimeter and give them the option to run? Do they take advantage of cushion at the number 3 receiver position? Looks like it gets flushed out here. But, obviously, end of that drive, not exactly what we're looking for as far as not converting the first down. But I think those first 2 plays is something we're going to see a lot from Louisville for the rest of the game. Getting into 12 personnel, moving some guys around, creating space, and run the ball downhill. And then it's doing the same thing and getting the quarterback the ball and design runs. I think getting real creative and playing that chess match is the way Louisville's got to create plays. And then using that to set up the play action pass, and hope we can, get a matchup against an undisciplined safety like what happened against Adams earlier in the game and create some explosives down the field. So they have a good plan, but, they just got to keep sticking to it. And, someone misfits a gap here and there, and someone misses a tackle, and you get number 8 in the middle of the field running by himself, and you never know what's going to happen. So it's going to be a development process, but I think they have a good plan together.
I liked what you said, Sal, about sticking to the plan, especially early, getting those inside runs going. Because so far, aside from the long throw against Adams, LSU's covered pretty well. They've had everybody locked down pretty well, especially when they went like sort of spread everybody out, empty sets. So I think getting the run game established, especially in like empty or like maybe just like a one back set, that's going to be big for them. And then, like you said, like opening up the play action game, I think that's sort of how they're going to be able to attack through the air. But they have to get Jackson involved in the run, get some quarterback runs, get some zone reads. I think that's sort of the stepping stone to opening things up more.
Right, and that's another thing we haven't seen a whole lot of is the zone read stuff.
Right.
I'm guessing that'll be coming out at some point, but we haven't seen. Usually, what I've seen is they'll come out with the counter run and the power read stuff, and shortly after that, they'll start to unveil more inside zone read, inside zone. Well, they'll arc release a tight end, make him think he's blocking him, and then go and block a second level player for the quarterback to run around. So I think we're going to start to see the zone read stuff come out pretty soon.
I'm not listening to the broadcast so I can hear on here, but apparently Kyle Krabs is saying the broadcast is comparing Devontae Fields favorably to Myles Garrett.
Gotta love comparisons, right?
I just want us to have nice things in 2017. Nice things.
One more day.
Mobile will be cool. That's a nice thing.
Mobile is great.
I like Devontae Fields, but I don't know if I go that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy you mentioned from Texas A&M, though, I think
Pretty special.
I think he'll be okay. Devontae Fields, I haven't watched him too much, but he had a sack earlier in the game and on a nice inside counter on a man protection deal, and I personally have not broken him down, but I think he's a solid player. But I mean, I think it's a hard time comparing people to Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
See here, LSU opening more of a spread deal. You know, usually earlier in the year, they've come out in one personnel group, and if they like it, they'll stick to it. And if they want to get in different stuff, then they'll come out with a third or fourth series and get into some more spread stuff or power stuff, whichever they didn't start off with before. Now you're seeing some more spread, 11 personnel stuff. Got a bubble screen out in the perimeter. Chose to hand it off because they were covered up. But now just getting a feel for Louisville and letting them show their hand of how they're going to play those spread sets.
I look at that concept that Louisville just ran. They faked a little bubble there. And they ran behind it. Eventually, you're going to have to, if you keep showing that look, you're going to have to throw, which they just did on behind. But if Louisville wants to sell those kind of formations, they're going to have to, it's going to have to be a long con, but eventually they're going to start throwing that ball. Otherwise, Louisville's just going to be sitting on the run.
Right. Both teams combined are 1 for 8 on third down. 3rd and 8 right now. Not the most favorable situation for your quarterback. Let's see what their answer is here. That's a great play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great protection up front,
Let's see what
too.
we had here.
Oh, wow.
Looks like a sail concept. He's running the sail route.
Yeah.
Yep.
Contested catch, high point the ball.
Nice throw, too.
Yeah,
Just over the defender.
They've found ways to run that's, whether you want to call it sail or some kind of flood or 3-level stretch concept. And that second or third drive of the game, they ran the crosser,
right,
the low crosser, and the sail, the intermediate route from one side of the field, and ran the high vertical from the far side of the field. That's a concept they've gone to a couple of times. Had a train of thought here. I think they're going to have to continue to get Dupree the ball in those situations because he's made some big time plays in this game.
That was Jair Alexander in the slot right there. He's made plays like that earlier this year, just over his fingertips there on that catch.
Yeah, that's just a really well thrown ball. I mean, he did not play it well. He did not play it well, but that's a well thrown ball and a good catch for sure. Louisville's going to play a physical game on the perimeter. They're going to get in your face. They're going to match patterns with their walkout players over the number 2 and 3 receivers, and they're going to force you to make bucket throws. So that's what you got to do there.
We've seen very few plays over the middle of the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, everything's been sideline to sideline.
Oh,
Shane, I'm guessing you just saw the tackle for a loss.
yeah.
Again, 3rd and 11. What's the plan on 3rd and long? How are we going to get, a chance to both convert, but also let's not turn the ball over? 2-back set on 3rd down, just like the last 3rd down. Bringing heat. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Remember what we said about getting 15 the ball?
I'll see it in a minute. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, let's keep getting 15 the ball. That's what I'm saying right now.
This is the type of game Malachi Dupree thought he was going to have a couple years ago coming into LSU. Like, those are the plays you thought you'd see consistently from him, and some of that's not his fault.
Looks like they're going to get him for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Let him play.
The thing that bodes well for Dupree that's happened with some other LSU receivers that they don't necessarily put up the same numbers at LSU that they would somewhere else. They do still end up being good pros because the good scouting tends to find them. Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and trying to think of some other examples of LSU receivers, because you just come there and you're not going to put up huge numbers because running the ball has always been the focus.
Yeah. You look at Brandon LaFell. He's carved out a heck of a career for himself. Of course, Odell.
Yeah, that guy from New York isn't too bad.
He's okay. I'm way behind you guys.
Dupree has 5 catches on 6 targets for 123 yards in the second quarter.
Early in the second quarter, too.
Goodness gracious.
Yes. LSU's been going to this bunch trip set to run the ball a pretty good deal so far in the game, but it doesn't look like they're winning at the point of attack enough to lean on it as a set moving forward. Got to limit negative plays, man. They've done a good job on 3rd down. Obviously, amazing catch over the middle of the field where, like Jeff said, there hasn't been much room to run based on the way that they're playing defense. But a great throw and an unreal catch. But, if I'm LSU right now on 2nd and 11, I got to get this thing to 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6.
Shane, is Danny Etling the starting quarterback for LSU next year?
I don't know. I hope.
The honest answer.
I'm sitting here. I was trying to think of something smart to say, and I just don't know. There's so much that could happen in recruiting, and then there's also the new grad transfer kind of thing that guys are doing, and you'd think the allure of playing with Canada, playing under him, I should say. You think that might attract somebody quickly?
Malachi Dupree already has 23 more yards than he's had in any game this year.
Jeez.
Possibly his career.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
I don't see either a sack, fumble, touchdown, or some huge play. Okay.
You're getting good at this, Shane.
Oh, Lord.
See? Got a flag on the play.
Don't spoil it. I'm behind all 3 of you.
Oh. Sorry.
No. Spoil it. I don't care.
Whew.
Looks like Louisville brought 6-man pressure there. 6 or 7. They were heating them up. So,
Yeah. LSU picked it up pretty well, though.
yeah, I mean,
Twice on this drive now.
if you're
Louisville
dropping back and
down.
taking that heat, that's what you got to do right there. Trust your guy to make a play.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Ettling's really he's calmed down like in the pocket when he's facing pressure so far. The first drive he looked a little shaky, but now he really looks comfortable when they, and they're picking up pressure pretty well, which is nice.
Right. No doubt. I think the big thing
Oh,
for
wow.
him is he.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm behind.
No, you're good. We want you to see this too.
It seems like they're giving him real easy reads and real short drops, and they're just simplifying everything for him.
Yep.
Well, I think that's going back to in those situations, he is being pressured, and it is a drop back situation, and he has to be economical with how he moves in the pocket. But as far as decision making goes, it could be a situation where, hey, if you're getting man pressure, this is where you're going with the ball. So he takes the ball, he drops back to pass, he sees this defense, he knows where he's going with the ball. So I think that's exactly right. Just take your steps, get a hitch in, and let it fly and get a good ball there and hope he can make a play. Back in the red area, this is a huge conversion if they can get it for LSU.
Keith Kelsey, 55 for Louisville, another guy that probable pro, middle linebacker there.
He's made some plays already today. I've been keying him several times. Oh, nice. That's just
They did this a lot with Leo.
really well done.
Sneak him in there, get him in a one-back deal, and leverage him in the pass game. Seamless transition to Geis. They're different body types. They're not the same exact player, but in this scheme, I think they can do and are comfortable with doing similar things.
Yeah.
And that's a huge advantage for LSU. It's not like there's one running back who, you got to put him in the hole and then he'll do good things versus a guy where he can just see it. Both these guys can do similar things in this offense. And obviously, in the red area, you got to get him the ball. In the pass game, that's a nice little wrinkle right there. This is definitely the way LSU wanted to start, get some points on the board and force, obviously Lamar Jackson can make a play at any point, but you're forcing him to make a play in order to get them back in the game.
Right.
And that's also the type of drive that if any coach could do it, they would. 13, 14 plays, whatever it was, 6-minute drive. That's the type of game control that you want, and it's this type of game control that this LSU team probably has to have as currently constructed. They don't want to be in a shootout.
Yeah, I'm right with you there, Shane. No doubt about that.
I think that's a big drive for them too, because everybody got involved and helped out. Like some very nice throws, very nice catches from a couple of guys, and then Geis ended up with the touchdown. The pressure got picked up. Like everybody going to the sideline, feeling a lot better. I mean, you're up 11 already. So, I think that's a huge momentum drive for them, too, offensively.
Time of possession, we've talked about LSU controlling the clock, but keeping Lamar Jackson off the field. 10 minutes in LSU's favor right now.
Hey, that's the game plan. Ball control.
Yeah.
Get the ball in your guys' hands and keep 8 off the field. I'd say so far so good. I'm looking at this game right now and thinking, going back about Lamar Jackson, how good he can potentially be. And I know it's more of a fun discussion piece than something we can pinpoint. But for you guys, I want to hear your guys' opinion on this. What areas do you think he can continue to develop in, whether it be as a passer, technically, mentally, physically, or any other aspect of his game that you think if he took that next step that he would set himself as a top guy coming out?
Well, we talked earlier about his accuracy and not letting balls fly and working a little bit on that. And I think, Mark Schofield's put out a couple pieces here on quarterback mechanics and how to be more accurate, and especially with Deshaun Kaiser. And that's the one thing I've noticed with Lamar Jackson this year has been his tendency to fly balls or to be a little more inaccurate and to maybe use this changeup a little more than just the fastball all the time, so to speak. But I mean, everything else, his decision making is pretty good. He's confident in his arm, where it's going to get to a point where maybe he needs to be a little less confident and more smart with where he throws the ball. But I mean, the key components are all there. It just seems like some tweaking, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's accuracy. He can be accurate. You know, he can throw. He throws just a phenomenal ball. He can be accurate, but he's not consistently accurate.
Right. That's definitely an important thing to have at the quarterback position. You can have all the athletic ability in the world, but if the coach doesn't know that ball's going to A to B or A to Z, then that's a problem. But I think it's something that can be developed for sure, as long as there's a willingness and a baseline level of athletic ability. And I think Mark has done an outstanding job outlining how those things can be scouted, I guess, per se, and how you can spot it. He's done a really good job looking at quarterbacks in that regard. And you all should go read them twice before the draft.
The one thing that Robert Griffin did at Baylor was really get better as a quarterback. He was a world-class athlete, sprinter, and he all the arm talent in the world. But the one thing that he did his final year at Baylor, first year in the NFL, was really grow passing the ball. And I know it's such an easy comp to make, but I do think there is a lot of early Robert Griffin in Lamar Jackson where he can be just a spectacular athlete, get away with it. And he has to continue to be less of that and more of a quarterback. And it can be done. He just has to do it. That's what you need to see from him.
It's Sean Bowers. Haven't heard his heard his name yet.
Yep.
Yeah, they can't get anything going up the middle.
He's an interesting player, man.
He is, man. He's got everything you like.
I don't know. I watched him a couple times. I watched him versus Ole Miss. I watched him versus Mizzou. One other game that slips my mind. He's big. He's got long arms. He can rush the passer at multiple positions. He's a nice player, man. He's going to be something.
This is going to be a big third down for them, I think, because if they're forcing a 3-and-out and they're forced to punt here, that could start getting away from them. Real LSU offense comes right back, another long drive, to sort of end the half, even if it's just a field goal. I think that would really hurt Louisville because they really have not been able to get anything going offensively.
Right.
LSU seemingly approaching this game like Houston did against Louisville. I mean, Louisville's offensive line looks very much the same as they did against Houston right now.
LSU fit that power read extremely well there.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have it play 3rd and 8. Louisville goes to power read.
Look at Adams. There he is.
They got to fit inside. They got to fit outside. And I think my comparison for Jamal Adams is a jumping bean. Yeah,
watch it. Well, I'm behind y'all, but on this replay, as it's strung out, Adams keeps following it. He doesn't have to make the tackle because it's made before he gets there, but he would have.
Right. That's where he's most impressive, is coming forward, keying and flying to the ball.
Think that guy will test well at the combine or what?
Yeah.
Springy is the word that comes to mind. I mean, when you watch the tape, and normally this is someone's process, like last year, for instance, I watched the Matt Judon kid out of Grand Valley State.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, when you're watching lower level competition, you got to make sure the player jumps out, speed wise and all that. And he did. But when watching LSU's defense, 1A SEC football, Jamal, it looked like the same speed discrepancy. Like he was that much faster than the receivers and safeties and DBs and linebackers on the field. They looked it looked like a different level of comp at times. Like his mental processing and his speed, it's not even thinking about it. It's just the way he reacts paired with his athletic ability. Yeah, I think there's a hefty handful of NFL DCs and DB coaches that would like to get their hands on him.
Sure. You're a top 10 team that doesn't need a quarterback, and you do need some secondary help. You could do worse.
I mean, we've all talked about, and, I know Dan Hatman and all those guys at the Scout Academy and all of us at ITP have talked about, valuation versus evaluation and how you value each position matters because it's not the same for each team. Yeah. And I know one thing, man, outside a quarterback, pass rusher, maybe a cover guy, you got to be strong in the middle of the field, regardless if it's a middle open or middle closed defense. And having a safety is extremely important. Look at what Earl Thomas did in Seattle.
Yeah.
Look at what Pat Chung has done in New England. The guy's been playing forever in the right scheme, and he's been making plays his entire career. Ed Reed, and maybe not even, those examples of Thomas and Reed are the elite of the elite. That's one thing. But like a Chung who's been playing forever, a Dawkins, I could go on and on and on. Any of those guys who are good fits for their schemes, and, because of their processing and their ability to make plays and see the picture, the value it's invaluable, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Landon Collins isn't the reason that that New York's a playoff team, but he's a big reason.
No doubt.
His growth year 1 year two. Clinton Dix. Green Bay usually does well in the secondary, depending on how does that day. And so, yeah, you got a guy like that. It's invaluable. It's
right.
Safety play there is not a lot of them, and they are so important. So to get one good one means so much to a defense.
Yeah.
A good one that can do so much, maybe like a Harrison Smith. Now I'm starting to think of some non-first ballot Hall of Famers for one, but
yeah.
But I mean, guys who can contribute in the run game, who are active in the run game and who set the tempo in the run game, but also can call the defense in the back end and keep things in line.
It wasn't too long ago that people were afraid to take safeties relatively high.
Right.
You had guys like Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu who were, definitely top-tier safeties coming out of college, but they just didn't go high. Earl Thomas went relatively high. I think Kenny Vaccaro went high as well. But, I mean, outside of those guys, people were always afraid to take safeties relatively high. And then you got a guy like Jamal Adams. I would have no qualms about taking him top 10.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when you talk about, as we get back to LSU here going with the play action game, I think it's interesting to hear people's opinions on being afraid to take X position at X spot.
Yeah.
I go back to last year, we were talking about Zeke Elliott. Does he go top 5? Does he not? I don't think you should ever be afraid to add a very good player to your football team, regardless of whatever position, when you have an opportunity to do that. I don't care what position he played. And obviously it's paid off pretty well, but Ezekiel Elliott's a fantastic football player. Jamal Adams, by all accounts, is a fantastic football player. And when you get to that point where you start looking at the grades and they start checking off boxes to a certain degree, if you think he is of that caliber, you got to say, okay, regardless of what position this player plays, as long as, he fits for us and we're not totally filled at that position, we shouldn't be afraid to take a very good football player here.
I think the interesting thing with the safety discussion too is a lot of their work sort of adds value to a team that isn't seen as well. A running back gets the ball and runs for a huge gain. Like that's a simple way to see it. But like something I like watching the Bills this year as a Buffalo Bills fan, which hurts to even say now. But
yeah, prayers your way, man.
When Aaron Williams got hurt, he is a solid safety. He's not great, but his ability to play single high and patrol the middle of the field allowed them to bring a strong safety up into the box. So when he got hurt, they had to play 2 high defenses almost exclusively to prevent big plays in the passing game, which got their run defense torched by the end of the year. I mean, Jay Ajayi ran for 200 yards twice. Le'Veon Bell ran for 200 yards on him. So this is just something like I noticed is like the fact that Aaron Williams wasn't out there, the fact that a solid safety wasn't patrolling the middle of the field decimated the run defense, even though Aaron Williams was not the guy coming down and making stops in run D. So I think safety is a position that it adds a lot to other pieces of the defense, which is tough to quantify, especially to like a large audience, like the national scale.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to see in the box score how many times a safety fit his gap the right way.
Right.
How that allowed X person, whatever middle linebacker to get 15 tackles. Well, that's because the ball got forced inside by the safety.
Right.
Just an example of that. I think that's a great point. Going back to that last drive from Louisville defensively, I think that's the third down they're looking for. They're going to line up 4-man front, bring 4. Okay, but they're gonna drop some people. They're gonna play some zone pressure. They drop the boundary end, send their field nickel or 5-man pressure. Excuse me. They brought that field nickel back, and their Sam linebacker dropped an end out of the picture. It looks very confusing and exotic, but it's only a 5-man pressure. They've been pretty consistent in doing that. If they can continue to force 3 and outs, and hopefully they can get something going on offense. But based on how things are looking right now, I'm not sure how possible it's going to be. We talked about this earlier, Ryan.
Look at Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just about to go on that. You're good.
From the back side of the formation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The good news is now it's 3rd and 4. It's a manageable down, but going back to the zone read stuff, and when you got 33 on the field, man, it's a tough deal.
Yeah.
Oof. Sack lunch. That's a freshman right there. Let's see. I know they had the back on the wheel. Let's see what happened here. Yeah, push-pull. Just locked out the right guard. They had a half slide, half man protection deal going on. It looked like the right guard and right tackle were man on the D end of the D tackle. Because the D tackle, the 3, got his hands inside and able to push pull, and especially interior pressure is hard to deal with, especially when the quarterback doesn't see it quick enough. Even that's Lamar Jackson now. If there's any quarterback that's going to escape pressure in the country, it's him.
Mm-hmm.
But interior pressure, that's tough when you don't know it's coming, and most of the time you don't.
And back to that Jamal Adams tackle on 2nd down. He read that on the catch. When Lamar Jackson caught that snap, Jamal Adams already made his move.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And that's preparation. This is a very well-coached defense. I bet, they know when they're in that set with a tight end in the game, they can get counter, they can get zone read, or they can get some kind of quarterback run where that tight end's blocking for the quarterback. They've been I'm going to guess, make the educated guess that they've been very well coached and they can read their keys very well. And then when you factor that in with a player with that kind of energy and that kind of motor, takes that kind of angle, and then the physical ability. Obviously you see the physical ability because you see a player running, but at the safety position, such a cerebral spot, you got to be able to read your key, feel things out, get a feel for the picture and how things are unfolding, where people are going, and where you fit in to the defensive pattern. Obviously there's a lot of physical attributes to it, but I think, he's well coached. He's been well coached at LSU, and his own mental processing is very high, very high. Tell you what, man, Danny Etling, and say what you want, but I think he's been playing a good ball game so far.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I want you to get your fancy computer out and do one of those spreadsheets where you look at front-running offenses in college football, because I don't think there's a more front-running team than Louisville. If they're ahead,
I think you said Oklahoma was.
Oklahoma's up there as well. They're in that group where if they're ahead, they're cooking. But if they ever get behind, they have these type of games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yards per play, Louisville was the most explosive team in the country. But it was, when I measured yards per point, they were not very efficient with their yards. They weren't able to close out drives. They did pick up some yards. It stalled. If they weren't hitting the big plays, they were not converting long drives.
And the yards deal, that includes any play, whether it's just broken play, scramble, whatever.
That's any yard gain. Yeah. So it's.
Okay.
But if you take away the big plays, if you're able to cover your running lanes and be disciplined in your gaps to cover Lamar Jackson, you're not going to give him the deep ball. Louisville just has not really exercised that patience to drive down the field on you and be methodical.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to go deep and to have big plays, but at the same time, there's something to be said for a team that can grind you out and to be versatile enough to do both. I think that's the key. And if you don't have the versatility to do both, you're missing out. You're going to struggle against a team like LSU that is disciplined.
Yeah.
Right. Relying on the big play, not ideal. Another third, LSU's been in two back pretty consistently on third down. They must really like what they got space-wise. Yeah, the pass game, I like what LSU's done in the pass game. It's been three-level stretch, whether it be a sail concept to all three receivers to one side or with the underneath receivers coming from different sides as the vertical receivers, or play action pass, getting a little Gruden special, spider two wide banana in there in the red area, and both on that first down that just happened to Dupree. I think lining up Dupree in the slot has given them good advantages. Louisville's going to play a lot of pattern match coverage, which means, for example, that number two receiver runs his route at a certain depth, that zone coverage turns into man. Okay, so he's just going to run with them. And matching up Malachi Dupree and a linebacker seems pretty advantageous to me. And then the shot plays, getting 7-man pro and throw it up to 15, or, be able to sit in the pocket. The protection's been good. Louisville's mixed up their front a little bit. They've set mostly 4-man pressure. They've brought some field pressure, dropping ends. It hasn't been too much 6-man pressure, but when they do, they've usually had a good job of calling some kind of 7-man protection scheme to keep him calm in the pocket, the quarterback that is.
Sal, now may be a good time to walk people through that aren't familiar with the sail concept.
Sure.
Especially because, and to also point people to the ITP glossary on InsideThePylon.com.
Yes.
Many of our writers have done a lot of work in trying to explain the simplest football concepts and some more complicated ones. But walk us through the sail concept, as you mentioned a couple times now.
One more. So as far as what I've been referring to, you can call it peaches and oranges for all you care, but it's basically just a 3-level stretch where you have a vertical receiver. Okay, so you have someone running vertical, usually an outside receiver. You have an intermediate level route, which can be an out, kind of a deep out route, which I've been referring to. And then you have a low level route, which is a flat route or a drag route coming from one side of the field. And it's good versus variation of coverages. If you think you're getting some kind of man look, you can always hit that deep receiver. But also you can work. It's sort of like a curl flat kind of concept where you're reading a curl flat defender. If he takes away one route, you throw the other one. Where you're leveraging where that defender plays in between the intermediate and shallow route. And if that defender plays one route, you throw the other one. And putting it in the context of Louisville's defense, especially if they send pressure. Yeah, that was a close call right there. By Godcho, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's so good. He'll be a junior next year.
Yeah,
you're up.
Godcho's a good player. But putting that 3-level stretch pass concept in context against Louisville's defense. Let's say Dupree is the number 2 receiver, and he's running an out route at about 10 or 12 yards, or whatever you want to call it. That walkout player over him is going to play him in man coverage once he knows that he's going vertical. So it really turns into man coverage. So you're looking at number 15 Dupree in man coverage against a walkout linebacker or nickelback or safety that may not have the speed, length, or athleticism to match with him step by step. So that's why I think it's a good matchup for LSU, and they keep going to it because they know they're going to have that space outside the hash. Oh, boy. I keep tipping it off. Shane knows now. Shane knows there's a big play about to happen.
Yeah. It's either it ain't a check down.
No.
Let's see. Oh God.
But there's nothing.
Man, is that Arden? Is that Arden Key?
You bet your bottom dollar.
Man, he's special. Top edge rusher next year's class in the preseason. Special talent.
Boundary pressure.
Yeah.
Duke Riley.
Gottschall are going to be on everyone's All-American teams next year, preseason.
That was brutal. Right tackle was real slow coming out of his pass set, and that couldn't get either one of those guys.
Yeah. I wasn't 100% sure what their protection scheme was, but I know they brought that will linebacker, Lewis Neal, in the B gap. He contributed to that thing as well. But yeah, on Inside the Pylon, going back to your original question, Jeff, our writers have done a great job with the glossary. The sail concept is up there, detailing the vertical portion of the route, the crossing route, the short flat route. Got some examples there from NFL teams on tape, how to run it. It's really a staple drop back concept. You can run it. You can drop back to it. You can run play action and run it. You can run it in the spread. You can run it under center. A lot of teams at the collegiate, high school, pro level run it. And I would definitely go check out that as well as other concepts or anything else in that glossary because you can learn a lot of football there.
Yeah, it's a great resource, something to bookmark on Saturdays and Sundays. And I know we're continually adding to it as well. So visit that when you get a chance inside the pylon.com. There's a glossary tab at the top.
I was going back and looking at that sack, and LSU they got their nickel coming right in behind Key, and that right tackle doesn't know who to take for half a second. He steps to the safety instead of Key and then has to recover late, and he has no chance.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is just beautiful. That's just beautiful scheming right there because you're running two guys at a deficient right tackle. He's taking the one closest to him, and then the best athlete's going right behind him.
Right.
And if the right tackle can pick up one of those guys, Jackson has a chance to escape. But with both coming in, they just sandwiched him right there.
Yeah.
Didn't know where to go.
Yeah. It makes the right tackle indecisive. It's just That's just good scheme. That's Dave earning a paycheck.
Excuse me.
I was gonna say that's easy to do when you got those kind of guys.
Yeah.
Looks like they're going to try and drive here. They're in shotgun. At least they're spread it out a bit.
Oh no! I keep doing that.
Wow.
Sal's that guy that ruins movies.
I keep doing it. I was actually right up as he threw the ball. I was about to say Etling's done a good job of getting himself out of trouble. I'm really glad I didn't say that. Great job by 24. They're getting a foot in bounds.
Mm-hmm.
That might have even been an NFL pick. Oh yeah.
Yep.
With that being said, let's see. Yep, just a three-man rush. There have been 12 first down conversions in this game, and LSU has 11 of them.
Whoa, man.
So,
and Louisville's is just on the deep ball.
The deep ball, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The shot play, the corner post to Jamal against Jamal Adams.
They got to get some points here.
Yeah, but I mean that's a huge deal for Louisville right now to get the ball in plus territory and have an opportunity.
That's a ball Edling just has to eat. I mean, you're up 16
you can't throw that.
Just take it.
Yeah. Don't give number 8 the ball more time than he has to have it. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone's got to put a muzzle on me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oof.
It's the fan in me. It's like the Google Hangout on live version and the fan version. And the fan version comes out whenever something goes out.
Were you reacting to the missed throw in the end zone?
I was. I thought he had him in the end zone. I was.
Okay.
And that seems to be where Louisville's making their dollars. Hitting, keep chipping away and hoping they can get another explosive play.
2 for 10 now, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And they're 0 for 7 on third down.
Is that good?
Is that good? Look at Key. That spin move was gross.
Yeah, that was insane.
I'm going to duck out for a couple minutes, but I'll be back.
Do it.
All right.
Those defenders, man, they're twitched up. They're wound tight.
For LSU, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's a shortage of athletic ability on that defense, especially on the front. We have a guy we haven't talked about who's less of a flashy player, but is more, you know what you're going to get. It's pretty consistent. Is Lewis Neal,
Yep.
92.
Yep.
Last year played a different deal schematically wise. He's played 5 technique end. I mean, he's not the biggest guy in the world. I don't think he's 300 pounds. I don't know if he's 295. He's not overly big. I think he's 6'2" or 6'3". His arm length is okay. But they have him like playing a 2-gap technique, against 310-pound offensive tackles, and his placement and his run pass recognition really gives him some yardage there to be able to play that spot. But also, he's rushed the edge for LSU. He's played a 3 technique, rushed against some guards, where I think he's best in the pass game for LSU. So, again, he's maybe not the type of player like a Jamal Adams or a blue chip kind of player, but he's consistent, and they know what they're going to get from him, and he's added a lot of value to that defense. Well, good to get some points on the board for LSU Louisville at halftime.
Yeah, that's big.
Obviously, like to have it 6 on the board instead of 3, but make it a 10-point game is big. Just talk about what LSU's been able to do without Leo in the game. Obviously they still have some good players and some good matchups offensively, but I'm just really think they've done a good job.
Yeah, a lot more passing than at least I expected. They're scheming guys open. They have not used the middle of the field a ton. They're really relying on those sort of timing out routes and crossing routes. But Etling's played pretty well besides that ugly interception there, which was, it was obviously a bad throw, but it was more just a bad decision. You just can't throw that ball up.
Yeah. No doubt about that. What do you guys think that Louisville needs to do more of, less of, or be more efficient or effective at in the second half offensively to try and gain some momentum, get the ball rolling, get their quarterback some confidence, and put some points on the board?
I don't think they're having a lot of success with that bunch run look that you pointed out. I'd probably like to see them go with maybe another tight end in there or something and go with what got you there in the run game, as far as just getting downhill with guys. Passing, theoretically, I like what they're doing. I think maybe they could get Etling maybe off platform more, roll him out on some play action, but you got to set up run to do that. Play action where, like you say, you got a crosser at a mid level with a guy going deep where you got some options. I think it's just game control. They've got the lead. Don't do that crap you did last possession with Etling. Just don't beat yourself. You're beating at Louisville, so just don't beat yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for Louisville on offense, it sounds simple, but convert a third down. Like, get a little bit of momentum, just keep your offense on the field for a bit so your defense doesn't, completely collapse in the fourth quarter. Get the run game going. I think I would like to see some more zone read, but LSU's been locking it down pretty well. We saw Jamal Adams come from the far side of the formation to stop the run there. So it's tough. And I think maybe incorporating some passing into that, if Jackson keeps it and rolls out, just get a guy coming on like a little crosser over the middle, simple routes and stuff like that, I think would help a ton.
Right. Absolutely. I think in order to win on third down, or maybe not in order to win per se, but to help your chances to win on third down, you got to win on first and second down. So to put your guys in manageable positions.
Yep.
I don't doubt Lamar Jackson's ability to make a couple juke moves and do some great things to create in the pocket and scramble downfield. We haven't seen a whole lot of that thus far, but be efficient in first and second down.
Yeah.
Do
too
your
many
best.
Small positive or big negative plays so far for Louisville.
Get 4+ on first down.
Yep.
Keep it to 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5 on second down. With what you do on that play. I think LSU is doing a really good job on second down of bottling up the read game, the outside run game. We haven't seen too much. I know they opened the game with pin pull. Haven't gone back to it too much.
Right.
All the manipulation stuff. Louisville flashed the double wing formation. They showed the 2-wing, the one side deal. Where they can run counter, they can do some quarterback run stuff. They've done a good job of bottling that up. But if I'm Louisville, I can only imagine, I think Louisville probably has some more tricks up their sleeve in the run game. Maybe not even tricks per se, but just different wrinkles that either they've already put on film or things that they've practiced in the coming weeks that they like against LSU. Obviously the down and distance is because of it. 3rd and 11, you're not going to break out the core of your run game. It's going to be tough. You get your hand forced into certain situations. But I think there's definitely some things that they can do quarterback run-wise, 12 personnel run-wise, moving some guys around that can give them some good matchups.
Yeah.
So hopefully LSU's ready for it.
First play of the game, I think they ran that pin pull to the outside for a pretty decent gain. They haven't gone back to it, which I think that would be a good way to sort of counteract the LSU defense, get guys on second-level defenders. I think they need to establish the running, like we've been talking about, just get 4 yards on first down. I think that would help them immensely. Just get some positive yardage, eliminate the 1 and 0 and negative yard gains.
Right. I think against a player like Jamal Adams at such an integral position where he orchestrates the show at that spot, you got to make them think. You got to make them think about something. The corner post, I'm sure that's in the back of his mind whenever he gets that vertical release and max protection. But otherwise, I want to do my best to get the ball away from him. I guess we've learned that even in that situation, you're not really safe. But just in the run game, make sure he's accounted for, whether it's a receiver or a tight end or a read, hard play action, RPOs, just something to make him think where he's just not lining up and playing football.
Right. Because
he's a lot better at doing that than some of the other players on the field.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good finish for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't think yesterday's game was going to finish the way it did, and look the way that one worked out.
Man, that was –
didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Got the kick, too, at the end of the game.
How about that last throw?
What a throw.
The slot route the slot receiver on the corner route
Yeah.
over Jordan Lewis. That was –
from Florida State? Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks, especially his age, that would have tried that throw. Maybe they could have made it, but it takes a lot to try it. I think that's so much of a separator for so many quarterbacks is that a lot of guys can make some throws, but it takes special guys to try some of those throws.
Yeah. No hesitation.
Yeah. Definitely part of the reason why they've entrusted him with the job is that not only, I don't know too much about DeAndre Francois, but I watched a large part of that game yesterday, and he got hit a few times and came up a little stumbled, but he battled that whole game. That was a battle. Both quarterbacks got hit a lot, and they got back up, and they were dealing. I know Wilton Spate didn't have the best of games. I know he's a different kind of player, but I think I got to give it to those two quarterbacks, man, because they got hit often. Yeah. And they got back up and continued to orchestrate the offense, which is admirable.
Jimbo compared Francois to Jameis in the preseason. A lot of times the media will do stuff like that. But I'm paraphrasing here, but somebody asked him about his confidence in Francois and et cetera, and he just said something to the effect of, we had a guy a couple of years ago that had all the confidence in the world, and I think this one might have as much or more, or something like that. And that's pretty telling because Jameis is such a bombastic personality, and that's a hard comp. But for a coach to do it, I was like, okay, this Francois guy.
Right. I think that's an underrated characteristic of the best quarterbacks.
Yeah.
To be able to have confidence in not just yourself but your teammates, to be able to throw that ball to a receiver in a contested situation, to be able to have confidence in yourself to throw a check down, as funny as that sounds, to be able to have confidence to get the ball to where it should be as opposed to forcing it and feeling like you have to make the play by yourself, playing within the offense.
Yeah.
Having the confidence to throw a 50-yard rope, outside the left bottom of the left numbers, down the sideline with a guy bearing down your face. Jaws always says, staring down the gun barrel and making a throw.
Yeah.
Francois did that a lot yesterday, and I thought that was really impressive. He's a redshirt freshman?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's got some more football to play, and assuming he keeps things going and stays healthy, I think they got a good quarterback on their hands for sure. The Jameis thing is interesting, the comparison deal, because it's another example of the pervasive nature of comparisons, where if you look at Jameis Winston, DeAndre Francois, you're thinking, Jameis, I don't think very athletic would be a way I'd use to describe him. Per
Right.
se.
Yeah.
And, body type wise, they're a little different. Francois is a little taller and leaner, and Winston has a little more weight to him muscle wise. But he's also just different body types. And Francois is more of a runner. But, when you talk about the confidence thing, that's something that may be bred within that quarterback room, and you look at, when Jameis came in and how he was coached and how he was developed and what kind of kid he was out of high school. And now you look at a Francois kid where he came out of, his high school or wherever he came from. And now he's in that quarterback room. And now it's easy to say, hey, he's just like Jameis because we recruited a similar kid with a similar personality. And now we have him in the same environment. So that's why that it's kind of convenient and it's there. And his positive performance definitely doesn't hurt that either. So,
yeah. And he's young too. I mean, both of them were young.
Yeah.
Jameis and Francois. That's the confidence to go out and make that throw as a redshirt freshman. I mean, and I think that's a great point, Sal. What's bred in that quarterback room has got to be sort of special too. Just for the two of them to play as well. Jameis obviously, I'm not saying Francois will go first overall in the draft or anything, but
might as well. It would fit in with a lot of
right. Just as young players to show that confidence, that poise, that's really impressive. Just as a fan and as an evaluator.
No
I
doubt.
think it starts with Jimbo.
Mm-hmm.
He does a really good job of pumping up his guy. I think Saban did it as well this year. He probably doesn't let Blake Barnett transfer or if he thinks that there's a chance Barnett's playing again. But he let Hurts win the job on the field, and then he stuck with him, and then they just ride with him. I think it's so easy to be fickle at the quarterback position, and Jimbo does a great job of just creating a confidence and incubating that. A lot of coaches don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the throw itself, though, I was had a thought. Alex Smith, when he's on, when he's making throws, I think back to the game a couple of weeks ago where they won, and it was the Raiders, I think, right? Yeah. He made some crazy throws, but he's kind of got the moniker he doesn't throw a lot. He's a check down guy.
Yeah.
When he takes the throw, he can make it, but he doesn't always do that. You look at Aaron Rodgers; he'll try any throw, and he can make any throw. But there's something to trying the throw.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people have been getting on Wentz this year because his yards per attempt is terrible. He's checking down a lot, short throws. I have to think that some of that's built in this year because as a rookie, you don't have the confidence to throw the ball that Aaron Rodgers has the confidence to throw.
Right.
And so I think, with Wentz, he has an arm. We saw that in college. We've seen it some this year. That's just a philosophical talking point.
No, yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that, Shane. I think you definitely saw flashes. I think the Eagles definitely have something on their hands. And you know what? I understand. I've seen a little bit of the film on Goff, and I understand the concern. There were definitely some low points, but I think at the end of the day, both these guys are rookie quarterbacks who are thrust into starting positions.
Yeah.
Goff wasn't asked to start till late, but I'm not going to make or break both guys based on one season. I think there's been some negative things said about Goff, for example. Yet I think he was able to see the field, whereas others may not have been able to get playing time at all, which isn't a negative thing because sometimes they're not ready yet and they need development, which is fine, which is totally fine. But I think it's admirable at the very least for a guy to line up as a rookie, and I'm sure he's still learning everything. He may not know that system like the back of his hand yet, which again, not many do at this stage. And to still go out there and take the hits and continue to line up. So I think both, if we're just talking about those two, have futures ahead of them. I hope they do. I hope guys like Pax Lynch continue to pick it up and have an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Because in college, they all showed the ability to work within their scheme, play well in it, take a scheme on, not any system per se. I'm not saying anyone's better than the other, but to be able to be within their system and thrive in it and then elevate the play of others. So I think those three teams definitely have something on their hands there.
Yeah. I think Goff's transition was always going to be the toughest.
Yeah.
And I think we've discussed this before inside the Pylon, like in the Slack channel, but he came from a spread, air raid, zone running, base team.
Yeah.
And the Rams are essentially the opposite of every single one of those, which is interesting that they still took him and they trusted he could make that switch, but they're an under center, power running team, run first, with defense, where Goff played every game was a shootout at Cal.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting adjustment. I think that's another layer beyond picking up an NFL playbook, beyond adjusting to the speed of the NFL game. It's a totally different philosophy and offense for him. Whereas Wentz, it's a bit closer to what he ran in college.
Yeah.
Short, quick passing, under center a lot. So I think that's just interesting.
No doubt.
And Wentz is in such a good quarterback room, too.
Exactly.
You put Lynch or Goff in that quarterback room, you probably feel better about their futures than you do today if you are down on them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about Coach Kubiak though. And
sure, yeah,
yeah. Whoever gets the opportunity to work in LA, that should be an interesting thing to monitor.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I still think that all three of those guys, I'm not going to write off a guy after his rookie year. I just refuse to do that. Just the context keeps popping up, to keep that context in the mind. You got a first-year guy and taking on a playbook for the first time and dealing with new things. At the pro level, something as simple as the mesh with the running back under center, being able to hand him the ball, throwing hitches, throwing slants, throwing quick timing routes, going through progression reads, obviously, communicating with the offensive line, developing relationships with the players on and off the field. It doesn't take 6 weeks to get to 100%. Tom Brady has been playing for the New England Patriots for 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
And we wonder, and we say, hey, player X doesn't show, I don't think he will be able to be good at this level because, and then we compare them to the elite of the elite of the elite, when in reality, they are so good because of either the continuity and they're just extremely good at what they do. At the end of the day, someone's got to play on Sunday or Thursday or Saturday or Monday. But you get the point. And there's a lot of context to keep in consideration there. So I think, it's going to be a process. We're not going to see a finished product this year, next year even. I think you look at guys like Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. I don't think those guys are done developing yet. I think immediately we kind of got on Jameis a little bit for turning the ball over. And that's something that may continue, but to a lesser degree. But I think we've seen him, and Mariota take that next step in year 2, and I think they're both good football players.
Yeah. This is going to sound maybe, weird, but like, I don't think all interceptions are created equal. Some interceptions are because the quarterback is aloof and accurate. Other interceptions are because the quarterback thinks he can make the throw. He took the throw. I think Jameis is probably the latter most of the time. And I've been and like with Mariota, look at his development year 1 to year 2. So like, my only concern with Wentz was the value they gave up for him and the pressure that puts on him to carry a franchise. But when then you trade Bradford for a first, you cancel out the cost of Wentz.
Yeah.
And so they essentially got Wentz just for a first-round pick. And that is beautiful. Like, that is fine with me. On the field, I thought he was similar to Derek Carr coming out. I just didn't trust what I knew completely. I had a second-round grade on him. I thought that was more of a safer value. But I've been very impressed with Wentz. And I don't think the criticisms of him are just, because if Twitter was around with Peyton Manning, my God, they'd have called for his head, 20-something picks.
Mm-hmm. How about for when Tom Brady came out?
Sure. 6th-round pick. Everybody, I can only imagine the first couple of starts. That first year and a half, I'm old enough to remember it. That first year and a half, 2 years in New England, he was a game manager. Like, they leaned on the defense and the run game, and he had to learn how to be this cerebral, all-time, passing quarterback that he's become. And that takes time. And so you have to be resolved in the organization to say, we know this guy's on a 36-month plan to get to point A to point Z, and we're going to just wait it out. We're going to ride with him. We're going to put things around him to grow, help him grow. And I think the Eagles are doing that. I think they trust this organization they've got in place.
Absolutely. That kind of reminds me of a Bleacher Report article that came out a little while ago about Scott McCloughan, the GM, and how he said something along the lines of, with his quarterback, Kirk Cousins, I think the whole game manager going off for a little bit, I think the whole game manager tag is kind of something that I've continued to grasp, because I feel like that's any quarterback's job.
Yeah. What you want that.
It's almost like, thank you for calling me a game manager. That means I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Isn't Tom Brady the ultimate game manager? Is Joe Montana the ultimate game manager? So
if Peyton Manning is calling the play at the line of scrimmage, is he literally managing the game?
Actually,
he's literally controlling the game. So
he gets 2 or 3 plays in the headset, and he gets look he doesn't want, and we'll kill that thing and we'll go.
Yeah.
That's managing the game. But going back to the McCloughan thing, he said something along the lines of, in referring to right after he put the tag on Cousins, he said, I'm going to make sure that you can just be okay so you can be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to put players around you where you can be just okay and be good.
Yep. That's a brilliant line. That's a brilliant line.
Awesome.
And you look at the guys around him, and you got Deshaun Jackson, and you have Jordan Reed, who's really, thankfully, he stayed healthy. CT native, by the way, who's really stayed healthy and been really good. Chris Thompson is a guy who has a role and plays it well. You got Robert Kelly coming out of the middle of nowhere, who's played a role and played it well.
Yeah.
You got
Jamison Crowder.
Jamison Crowder is a solid player. You know where he's going to be all the time. Pierre Garçon's been playing for 100 years, and still can do it. And we haven't seen Josh Doxson at all, and he's a guy who social media raved over. So I think when you look at a situation where you have a quarterback in Kirk Cousins, who are there better quarterbacks in the NFL? Yeah, probably.
Sure.
But he has a skill set. He has areas where he wins. He's smart. He knows where to go with the ball. And there's a front office who surrounded that player with guys who he can be okay at what he does and look good.
That's a great line from McCloughan. There's my favorite line from Williams Stanback, the writer he wrote East of Eden. And there's a line in there that says, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true about quarterbacks. If you take the pressure off of them from being perfect and just let them be good, then you're going to win a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson has to be good right now as we open the second half.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
That was a nice little quarterback rant, and I dropped some Steinbeck knowledge, so it's
Wait for it.
Oh, man. Is that Keys again?
I didn't
Or
say anything
TJ?
this time, Shane.
yeah. I'm behind. I've got Louisville, LSU on one TV, and Liverpool, Manchester City on another.
Football and football.
You got it.
Whatever scheme Arden Key has been playing in over the past 2 years, whether it's an outside linebacker or a DN in a 4-down deal,
Yeah.
he gets that from the quarterback.
That's something that we talked about a lot in the preseason on Pylon U is because LSU was going from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and Arden's transition has been seamless.
Yeah. Well, I think some of the misconceptions about the scheme is that, you have to have a base.
Yeah.
Of what you want to do, but both can be versatile. I mean, there's some things that are exclusive, like you're not going to see a 4-3 defense 2-gap across the board because that's impossible. But like even a 3-4 defense can go to a 4-down scheme, and they can turn that 0 nose into a shade, and they can turn that 5 into a 3, and they can turn that 9 into a 5. You know what I mean? So they can have a base but be multiple. Where Arden Key may be called a linebacker instead of a DN, but he's really using similar techniques and strategies that he used to win on snaps last season, which is huge because you're keeping him in similar comfortable situations. You can't see all the happenings going on in the secondary with the broadcast view, but based on how Lamar's reacting, it doesn't look like LSU's giving Louisville too much room to work.
No.
In the
and all the replays we've seen, they've pretty much been bottled up.
Yeah, save one deep route.
Right, exactly. They needed that.
They gave him the first down there. It might have been a favorable spot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. It looks like a 3-by-1 set. Can't really tell. Looks like they're going to review it. Or 2-by-2. Excuse me. This game's been won at the line of scrimmage, man. LSU's gotten pressure on Lamar, and they've been disciplined. If an edge rusher forces him up in the pocket, those 2 inside guys or 1 or 2 inside guys are there. Where if they get washed down, there's a huge seam for him to scramble through, as we mentioned before. But they've been disciplined in their rush lanes. They've done a good job.
Yeah, and there's great pursuit across the front 7, too. When he gets out of the pocket, there's multiple guys coming for him all the time.
Yeah. Well, we were in the half. I saw someone on Twitter posting a clip of that Jamal Adams tackle from the backside on the zone read. I didn't see exactly where he was. I knew he was on the backside. I thought he was high. He was playing a high safety. It was a tight end wing set to the boundary, and then they had the 2 receivers to the field, and they ran the stretch play to the field, and he was lined up 8 yards back, 2 yards outside of the tight end wing. So he ran over the top and then filled the alley, the opposite alley, and made a tackle. You normally don't have to account for the backside safety on a frontside stretch play, but not that guy. He's a freaking problem.
I think he was on top of the LSU guy from most of this fall.
Oh, are they giving him forward progress because he was
like it's where his elbow comes down first is where it looks like the first time he touches. Like right, the elbow with the ball because I think the other one he got up first. 4th and a half yard. It looks like they said.
Let's see what the call is for Louisville. Looks like the punt team's on the field. Well, you got to go out and hold strong for Louisville's defense right now. Be disciplined in the back end and hope to generate a pass rush. I know we haven't seen too much of a pass rush. Part of that is by design, LSU-wise, keeping guys in and relying on receivers winning in tight coverage, which, so far so good. But which is find ways to affect a quarterback, which is against what they usually do. They'll bring guys from different spots in zone pressure, but they aren't a big max blitz, heat cover zero team.
Right.
They'll heat it up a little bit. They're going to send 4 or 5 and drop some ends out and create some confusion. But so far, it doesn't look like that's working as well as I'd like it to.
Sal, was it you that tweeted at me last week just talking about somebody asked me about cornerbacks? I responded, and you tweeted at me Tre'Davious White.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
We haven't heard his name yet. We haven't really had to.
I think that could be a good thing. I think.
Yeah, you rarely want to talk about cornerbacks unless they're making picks.
Right. Or if they're yelling at Aaron Andrews after the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's true too. But White, I think, in terms of cornerbacks, as solid as you asked for, doesn't get the national, pub that like a Tease Tabor or Sidney Jones does, Desmond King does, but he just does his business, man. He's just so good at what he does. And I just wondered, since you tweeted at me, did you have some thoughts on him?
A little bit, in watching, I was watching some of LSU's front guys, and I kept, Jamal Adams obviously was darting across my screen, and I started to begin to look at their DBs. Solid size, physical corner. They use him pressed up at the line of scrimmage pretty often. Good speed. I think what stands out most to me about DBs at this stage is, what's their willingness in the run game to support and be a participant. And he'll bring the wood. He'll hit. He's a really good hitter, good tackler. And I think his speed, his transition quickness, and his route recognition in the back end has really helped out LSU a lot. Again, we can't really see in this game, but based on the story that the quarterback in the front is telling me, I'm going to make the educated guess that he's holding his own back there against Jamari Staples, who is, recognized as a pretty good player. He'll be going to Mobile, Staples that is. So I saw speed, and I saw toughness, and I saw mental processing in Tre'Davious that made me think that, let's do some more work on this guy because he's going to be a player. There's definitely, like you mentioned, there's no shortage of good corners in this country, and in college football this year, there's no shortage of good corners in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Ryan, have you keyed on some guys this bowl season, or maybe you got some that you'll watch today that maybe schematically you think could match up well for Buffalo?
Yeah, my big thing is I'm looking at safeties. Like I've talked about, there's a huge gap at safety for the Bills. And I think the interesting thing is, you talked about this a bit with Jamal Adams. He's sort of almost like a higher ceiling guy. He's probably not as refined and disciplined as some of the other safeties.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting because he could go early.
Yeah.
And go to a team that maybe is not competing immediately and develop and become, let's say the best safety in the class. Whereas I think a team like the Bills are looking for a guy who can come in his rookie year, be solid, and maybe not grow to be elite, but grow to be good, to play sort of on the back end and in run defense. So that's something I'm looking for. And just been interesting, especially this game, watching Adams, where like those flashes of absolute dominance, but also some lapses, which I think wouldn't work for them as well. And then I'm starting to look into just thinking about what the Bills would need. It's probably a wide receiver, because I think Robert Woods, if I were him, I'd leave. It's a run-first team without much certainty at quarterback, so they're going to need a guy across from Sammy Watkins. So I'm excited for today to watch John Ross. I know there's been a lot of talk about him maybe as a Bills target. So that would be a fun duo. Him, Watkins, Charles Clay, LaShawn McCoy, and hopefully it's Tyrod Taylor throwing them the ball, but that's a whole nother discussion.
I'd love to have that discussion at a later time. I think I think Sal, we scouted him at the scouting academy this past spring. You liked him, right? What you saw?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to look at him through Scout Academy. I think if you want to summarize it into as efficiently and put it in a small amount of words, he's a guy where in the right environment, you absolutely can win games with him. And I think on a more micro level, on some plays, like on a play-to-play basis, he's the reason why you win that rep. Not necessarily a season or a game, but the things he can do with his feet really help him a lot. Yeah. As far as the half-field reads, he's good at. He can read the full field stuff too in that short to intermediate area. I didn't think in the deep passing game he had that spot placement that maybe some people like. But listen, if we're talking about a guy that can read half the field effectively in the drop back game, as well as a guy who can operate the offense, get the offense in the right play, his ball carrier abilities, his vision. He's not just fast; he has good vision. He can see the picture. His change of direction skills and speed, make him a candidate for some option run stuff, which you want to use sparingly because that's your quarterback.
Right.
But I think the overall speed, athletic ability, and toughness are good. And I think he was able to allow guys like – this is back in 2015 now – but guys like Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, Charles Clay to get the ball in good spots and allow them to be athletes and be pro receivers and let them make plays after the catch. So,
yeah,
I haven't gotten a chance to see as much film as probably you have on him this year. But from a couple games here and there, he looks like the same player, and I'm anticipating breaking it down even further. But especially based on what I saw last year, I think he's a guy where, in a situation similar to Cousins, different players, but he's good enough to where you can put guys around him and he'll be good.
Yeah.
I think that offensive line is good. That's a well-coached offensive line right there. That's a good back if you're talking about, and Shady McCoy. Charles Clay, like I mentioned, is a steady player that nobody talks about. Obviously, you'd like to have Sammy healthy, but even with that being said, that's an up-and-coming receiving core. I think I like Tyrod. I think he can help somebody for sure. And if Buffalo lets him walk by any chance, I think he's going to find a job pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I think that was the tough thing this year was everybody was hurt. The weapons were just not there. One game, the top two receivers were Walter Powell and Brandon Tate.
Yeah.
So it's just it was tough this year because I think you're exactly right. He's like Cousins in that you can win with him when he's got talent surrounding him. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of the year, the depth wasn't good enough with the injuries. So it's tough to really evaluate him this year. But what were you going to say, Shane?
No, I was going to let you finish because change the subject. But that third down overload pressure by Louisville, where they overloaded the left and dropped Fields, I just thought that was brilliant. I just wanted to highlight that. I've watched it back a couple of times.
Yeah,
LSU was in that tight bunch again, right? Or somebody.
Yeah, they were
two guys close.
I know they motioned out of. They might have motioned from trips to 2x2.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Louisville. That's their MO, and they're going to zone pressure you, and they're going to bring guys from different spots. I think they brought a couple. What they'll do is they'll just the field, usually the boundary end. It looks like they drop the field end. Field's there, the field as in the end to the wide side of the field, and what that does is, for a quarterback who may or may not have as much responsibility in setting protection, may give them a numbers advantage where you have four guys working against 3 blockers or 5 guys working against 4 blockers. And especially if those guys are coming at the quarterbacks, those guys are driving in the quarterback's face. And that's something you can look at film of, not only where do we pressure this team based on where the X's and O's are lining up, but going to a more granular level, look at this quarterback and where does he struggle the most? Like, is it against pressure in his face? Is it against pressure that he feels from behind him and he's seeing ghosts in the pocket? Like, which situations is he most uncomfortable in, and how can we get that scenario happening over and over and over again?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point there, Shane, of how Louisville went with some boundary pressure instead of field, but kept within their MO and used zone pressure to hurry the throw. So it looks like Louisville's first 9 drives today They've had 66 total yards and 5 3-and-outs.
Man, that's brutal.
Well, that'll help.
Yeah, I think getting Lamar Jackson involved, they had to get him running just to provide a bit of a spark, get Louisville thinking he can, he's going to be running it. And I think that opens things up over the top of like the linebackers in the passing game.
Absolutely. I think this goes back to earlier where we were talking about, what Louisville's answer could be. And I think, their game plan hasn't changed. I mean, whether they're down by 10 or up by 10, we're probably seeing similar play calls right now.
Right.
Because that's, they got to do what they're good at, and they got to get yards, and their best means of going about it is giving number 8 the ball.
Yeah.
Or at least getting some read stuff going on where we can manipulate a defender to go. Lewis Neal, Godcho, and their other D tackle have done a good job of controlling the line of scrimmage up front. See, right there, I wanted to highlight that play. I'll wait till you see it, Shane. That last, maybe you look back on it and it was the right thing to do, but I wonder if Lamar could have done something else with the ball there to keep himself out of that sack.
Yeah.
I wonder, it'll be interesting in the coming year or so to study his, how efficient and economic he is moving in the pocket, managing space. Oh,
that's underthrown. There's White.
There's Tre'Davious White, yeah.
I'm about to watch it, but it's apropos we start talking about him.
He came up big right there.
That's a nice play on the ball.
I just saw the sack. I'm way behind. Never mind. I've got the game streaming through my Xbox, so I can't really efficiently rewind it.
Right.
But just in real time, he pumped it a couple of times, and I didn't really get a chance to see what he was looking at.
Yeah. For LSU to be able to get home with 3-man pressure against Lamar Jackson is a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Wow. Tre'Davious got up for that.
You saw the play? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the sack where he pumped a few times, you'd like to see him feel the pressure a bit and not necessarily escape the pocket, but just some small moves to get himself a bit of space.
Right. Just find some room to live in there.
Yeah, because a 3-man rush should not be, walked right into you there. It wasn't a ton of pressure.
Absolutely, no doubt. Well, LSU has another great opportunity to further this lead, and I think the story for both these teams is play your game, no matter what circumstances. Be who you are, and make sure you're running your offense accordingly and playing your defense accordingly. Both teams haven't done anything out of the norm. Other teams have done things that worked against Louisville, and other teams have done things that worked against LSU, but both teams have played their game, and I think it's in their best interest. Louisville, with the way they pressure and play defense in the back end, and LSU is going to beat you up front and rely on their dudes in the back end to cover and be secondary support in the run game for all the outside run stuff. They've done an outstanding job of fitting that in so far. Louisville's got to, keep chipping away, and hopefully their defense can hold. If one guy misfits the run against Lamar Jackson, it's going to be a touchdown. So, just got to keep blocking people up front. Just keep playing your game and hope something pops.
We talked about this at the very beginning, but I think it's interesting because the score we have right now, if it's flipped, I'm not sure LSU can sort of score in bunches, and really come back from being down. Whereas Louisville, I trust them to. I mean, Lamar Jackson, the next time he gets the ball, could break it for 85 yards.
Yeah.
So I think being down 10 or so, suits Louisville better than LSU. Obviously, you like to be up, but I think it's still a closer game if it, for this score,
I think
compared to if they were flipped.
Before today, I might agree with you, but I really like how, obviously the interception didn't look good, but I like how this passing attack is executed right now. I think based on the way they're throwing the football and creating situations, both in the sail and the 3-level stretch stuff and the drop back stuff, and they've been able to convert, and their receivers have won on the outside and created some big time explosive plays. Louisville, they don't look completely in sync right now. Part of that is up front. That's where it all starts, in the pass game and in the run game. I don't think Lamar is in a rhythm at all, which is, it doesn't take much for him to get in a rhythm, but it hasn't happened yet. Whereas LSU, Etling has gotten into a rhythm a couple times, hitting, just hand the ball off. I mean, letting Geis run, play action pass, get the ball out in the flat, play action pass, get the ball to an intermediate out route, and give Dupree the ball. Just keep giving your dudes the ball and letting them make plays. You just be the game manager, I guess, is the operative point here. And operate the offense and get the ball where it's supposed to be. This is probably one of Etling's better performances of the season when, the dust settles and we all watch the tape.
I'd like to see LSU try. I would like to see them set up a screen on the first play of the drive and then come right back with a play action shot. I'd like to see them try to go through the jugular here.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't be surprised.
You can always come back traditional. There's the run. Well, there you go.
They do like that, pulling 2 guys around to the play side.
Oh, yeah. Working the outside run.
Yeah.
Figuring out where that defensive end lines up on that tight end. Is he outside? Is he head up? Is he inside? And then that opens up what opportunity for plays we have in the run game.
Yeah, they've got Moreau and they've got Jeter in. And that's the type of look I was wanting to see, more 2 tight end sets out of them.
Shane, I'm not going to say anything.
All right.
But then once you see it, we can talk about it.
Oh, goodness. Good night and good luck. We are not in Kansas anymore.
So they chipped away. They used formations to get some good space and tackling. Tackling at the second level all game long. You got to wrap this guy up, man. As soon as Darius Geis gets past linebacker level, it's game over.
Yeah.
Some guys, or most guys, I would say, most prospects, you don't want to just put a stamp on their freshman or sophomore year because development isn't linear. Stuff happens. But guys, if he stays on this path, sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Just
coming back.
Oh, no.
Another unsportsmanlike for LSU.
Okay.
Play will count.
Okay. I'll live with that.
Looks like it was just on the team, not a specific player.
I'm gonna run this back. Just
couldn't exactly see how defensively Louisville matched that run, but it looks like they just ran power and got to the second level.
Then that's what I wanted to see. I've got mine. All right, let's see. They got 3 down linemen with 2 stand-up edge.
Yeah.
And let's just look at it right here. Motion. Yeah, and they just ran power and Geis did his thing. I want to see who took a bad angle on that, though, because I think someone did. Yeah.
Right alongside the guard, looks like he went.
And then that's just,
Chipping
what guys can do post hole as far as, okay, now he's past the line of scrimmage. They've created him an alley, but he's still got to do a couple of things to get to that touchdown. It's not just, that wasn't untouched. And the things that he does, the vision, it's almost an omnipotence where he just knows where he's at and where he needs to be. God, he's special.
Tight end does a good job on the play side, sealing that 9 technique, getting inside, good hands, good foot drive, gets the hat. That's huge. You know, if that 9 spills that thing, or, you know, if that 9 technique crashes inside, that play's over. Tight end wins, gets inside, pulling guard wraps around inside out, the front side linebacker. Safety misses an ankle tackle. 83 holds his corner deep enough in the open field. That's a football play right there. You get the ball at number 5, let him go.
Yeah.
That's something that people don't talk a lot about. You know, a lot of people talk about O-line play and talk about D-line play, but I think the play of a tight end is huge.
It is.
That's the edge of your run game right there, man. You know, whether
that's been LSU for a decade now. They've used fullbacks and tight ends in their run game, and they're not just there for show. There's a purpose to it.
they'll show up all right.
Yeah.
But this is what LSU wanted. They wanted to control the ball, and they wanted to run it, and they wanted to get their quarterback in manageable situations, and it looks like so far things are going okay for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. I did it again. Oh, well.
Oh, God.
I'm guessing it's a Louisville fumble, an LSU recover.
Not quite.
Oh, it's almost as bad. What a dummy.
Did he? Oh, here's we got a replay coming up of the run, end zone view.
The thing that sticks out to me there is the play side tackle. You know, he's working in conjunction with the guard. Basically, it's just power. So front side with the exception of the tight end who's got to seal the outside edge of that gap. Everybody's going down, you know, and the guard's pulling around. So the right tackle is working against the head-up technique, so he can't go down with a reckless abandon. Otherwise, that tackle is going to feel the block and make a play in the backfield. So he does a good job of setting his feet, you know, being balanced. You know, the end works inside. He takes him where he wants to go. Okay, so he lets his momentum work against the defender. Okay, so if he went out and used his own momentum to create push, he'd slip right off him. But that's a good job of staying patient, taking him where he wants to go, and that opens the inside edge of the B gap for that pulling guard to wrap around and go through. So that tackle and the tight end do a great job of setting up that play. And then the guard takes a good departure angle on the second level player, and that's pretty much it from there.
I don't know if you guys saw that stat. Geis has 12 touchdowns in 5 games where Fournette hasn't played, which is just insane.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Louisville is 0 for 10 on third down today.
Oh, my gosh.
Lamar Jackson is 2 of 11 for 62 yards. He has 19 rushes for 6 yards. 7:30 in the third quarter.
You got Bauer. I'm sure. Go ahead and spoil this out. But you got Bauer and Key on the edge.
Yeah.
3rd and 6. Just come after him. That's what I did.
Yep.
They did. They are. That's Adams.
Little twist game there.
Yeah.
Key coming inside, looks like.
Got it.
Well,
Gotta haul that in.
games are won and lost on the line of scrimmage, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Just getting away from Louisville.
They're going for it, right?
If they are, it's a fake punt.
No, okay. I just saw
Oh, you saw him on the screen still?
yeah. Dang delay.
I think going back to what Jeff said earlier, this could be, how do I say this? You know, the whole explanation with maybe in terms of yards per point not being so efficient.
Yeah.
And how this is kind of rearing its ugly head right now.
Yeah.
So maybe being reliant on the big, explosive, broken play and having that as having that broken, explosive play be the beginning of a snowball effect to lead to get into a momentum.
Yeah.
How that could come back to bite you.
Yeah. It's Louisville is built and they're predicated on their athleticism causing defense mental errors, which allows them to use their athleticism. They just gash teams like Florida State and Houston did it in the opener against Oklahoma. But when that is negated, when your defense plays you sound And when they're bottlenecking you and they're stopping what you're doing, you can't rely on your athleticism. Then can you just be a fundamental football team, not chunk plays, but dink and dunk, move the balls, do the traditional stuff. Yeah, and they can't do that. That's why I call them, probably the most front-running team in college football, which is it is a negative. It's only negative when things are not going their way. If they can ever get up and get a lead, good luck catching them. But they're just not built to be methodical. And LSU really is the picture of a methodical, schemed offense.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, I mentioned this with Leo and Geis before, but now they're bringing in 28, and 28 sees some significant reps as well. Even when Leo was healthy. But all three of these backs, man, they can run inside, they can run gap, they can run zone, they can be effective in the pass game. They have three backs, in my opinion, that can run the offense, and there's definitely no wholesale change moving from A to B to C as it pertains to what plays can be called. Now,
sure.
The after effect on each play, maybe the first two guys have more ability to create yards or make people miss or get more yards after contact or in general or whatnot. But schematically, I think all three are similar in how they see things.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Makes it definitely easier. Big 3rd and 5 here.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Louisville twist the end. Little ET stunt.
Yeah.
Yep, little ET stunt. Brings a dog from the field. 5-man rush. This isn't a very scalding hot take, but Danny Etling has outplayed Lamar Jackson today.
Yeah, truly.
Not something I exactly expected coming into this game.
And LSU's game plan is not something you're going to want to run on Madden. It's not what you want to maybe watch and enjoy. But it's, Etling is deficient in terms of his ceiling, so they need these protections and these route combinations and such. And all that matters is if you win the game. It doesn't matter how pretty it is.
Right.
It's all they're winning the game.
Win 1-0 for all they care.
That's it. That's it. He's not doing anything to lose in the game, save that just whatever interception before the half.
Right.
There's a lot of teams that would take that.
Looks like the slot corner to the field's coming on a blitz for Louisville. Oh, they ran it.
Caught him in it. Yep.
Cannon, I think.
Hard count there. Get them to show their hand. Kept the play on. 24 doesn't make the tackle there for Louisville. Geis is still running.
Yep.
Another big 3rd and 5. That clock is ticking away, gentlemen.
Yep.
It is not Louisville's friend. Again, being efficient, being in manageable situations. LSU can stay in 12 personnel and run their base offense. Now the outcome of that play wasn't so good, but they can stay in their base offense and be themselves on 3rd down, as opposed to, hey, it's 3rd and 10, it's 3rd and 8, it's 3rd and 9 plus whatever. And now we're kind of forcing ourselves into a small selection of things we can do.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 5. This thing's wide open. They could go spread out, 11 personnel, run the ball, spread it out, sprint out, and throw some kind of intermediate deal. Get into the under center play action pass game that's worked for them. You have a lot of options, and that makes a defense a little bit more uneasy.
Yeah, there's good 3rd and 5s, there's bad 3rd and 5s. That was a good 3rd and 5. They had the whole playbook decided to run, so for a field goal.
That's a lot better kick than earlier.
Yes, it is.
And now you're up 20. 20 with that defense that can pin their ears back and can play coverage in the back end, so you feel confident to pin your ears back.
Right.
Exactly.
How do you come back down 3 scores?
this is the reason why guys like Arden Key are on your football team.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, when it's time to close a deal and you got to go get that quarterback, this is why right here.
Yeah, this is a 3-score game. It can be a 5-score game quickly.
Yeah.
And you can really open things up when you're blitzing now, because you're fine if running back squeaks out where the linebacker vacated. You know, a short gain is just going to keep eating time. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's and then quick pressure is going to prevent the downfield throws. So.
Josh
Still
Harvey.
waiting. You go.
Yeah, I was going to say Josh Harvey Clemens not playing.
Yeah.
Tough. You know, he's a guy that.
Louisville missing a couple DBs as well.
Yep.
Oh, I've watched far too much football in the past week, and I love it so much.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So I know we've talked, to no end about these teams being themselves and sticking to the plan, but you wonder what Louisville's plan is now, down 20 with under 3 minutes left in the third quarter. They're going to open it up and start getting the ball downfield. Who knows? Maybe being overly aggressive is going to get Lamar in a rhythm. They're going to get a good first down conversion there.
Yeah, I think they needed that. They still haven't converted a third down, though.
They haven't, which is not ideal. Staying in the same exact formation, run a different play.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that with the LSU too, more so, not as much in this game, because they're up, they've been able to slow it down and huddle it up and get some different looks. But, earlier in the year leading up to this, LSU, when they're rolling and they're going tempo, they'll just stay in one or two sets and allow, a couple plays to be called, and they have their preset package of plays that they like, and they can just pick one and go. Looks like that's kind of what Louisville's doing right now. Two straight plays in the zone read game.
Yep.
For Louisville there. LSU, he kept on the last one, but don't think LSU will be letting Lamar Jackson get any big run lanes just this way.
Petrino still staying on script. They're not going heavy throw, even though they're down 3 scores. I think he knows you got a whole quarter left to play with 3 timeouts. There's going to be some possession changes. I like it. They could start forcing stuff. They haven't yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think one more drive before you start going into hurry-up mode as far as the urgency of getting down the field.
Option run and quick game. That's, those two things. I wouldn't say 1 and 2, but those are two things that have gotten them far.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Big thing
Close.
for me watching this game is contested situations, who's winning at that point of attack. And I think overall LSU has won on both sides of the ball. With Dupree making some outstanding plays.
Yeah.
Louisville dropping a slant route versus contested coverage in the end zone. All these catches are going to be contested. With the exception of maybe the very short middle of the field routes, you're going to get some contested plays.
Yeah.
And you just got to win. It's you and the other guy, and you got to win. And LSU's won most of those so far.
Yeah. There's Key coming after him, forcing throw.
Brought the nickel field pressure.
Yep.
Third and 9 plus territory. What is the call here? There's a theme. I mean, we've seen this at least 1 or 2 times before. Got to have it third down play. What's the call? And Louisville's going to power read.
Go for it here. Got it, right?
Well, Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, it's a possibility.
Looks like
Yeah.
they're going for it.
I'd go for it. A field goal does
20
Doesn't-
versus 17 is
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell you what, Louisville gets an 11 personnel on 3rd and 7+. I think I know what play they're running.
Yeah.
Well, this is new.
That's a great fake by Jackson.
Oh,
His score?
They did
no.
not.
Watch Jackson on this play.
Oh, my goodness.
Sal, you said, what a great fake by Jackson. Like, what are you talking about? He doesn't have the ball. That's
Yeah.
insane. That was awesome.
Ball handling at the quarterback position. Now, granted, that was a little bit of a trick play, but that's a nice little wrinkle there by the coaching staff. Create just a hair of space and get the fullback in the flat. Well, we'll see what Louisville's got up their sleeve.
Fourth quarter, big.
A couple touchdowns and a Sean Payton special, and we're back in this thing.
Yeah. Guys, I'm about to have to hop off here and get ready for the Bama game and do some stuff at the house. But this has been fun. We should do this again, maybe. I don't know. The East-West Shrine game would be fun. Talk some prospects, watch the game.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's a good point, especially when the focus on scheme is more so broad. We can really get to the nitty-gritty on the players. That'd actually be a good one.
Yeah. I'd
should-
enjoy that.
We got to open it up to the people, let the people know,
Yeah.
because that's 2 of 4. I think I want to say one more time, before Shane, you head off, that for all you guys, go check out the Inside the Pylon glossary. Go check out Pylon U, subscribe, listen, do all that. Read inside if you want to learn about football and you don't know, you feel like you want to learn more, you can learn as much as you want, or you can learn little things. Like my little insight, when I read things, I like to make sure that I walk away learning just a little bit at least, where it's like, hey, I look at this thing differently, or hey, I look at this process differently. I look at this means of evaluation differently, or this scheme differently. Just another viewpoint where a different perspective from educated people that we have at ITP that adds tremendous value to the space and on social media. So really make sure you guys go check that out. Ryan does an outstanding job. Shane does an outstanding job with everything he does. Jeff as well. He was on here earlier. Go do that. Follow on Twitter, IT Pylon.
That's a good point. I think what we got going inside the Pylon is pretty rare. It's not groupthink. We'll have discussions and not everybody always disagrees, but you always learn more. I see so many evaluators on Twitter during draft season talk about how they try to insulate themselves and not listen to what everybody else is saying or read other people's opinions. And I just think, how much are you missing out on by that, doing that? If you're sold on a guy and you're not looking at every avenue to learn more about him, I think you're selling yourself short.
Right.
And so I think what Inside the Pylon does, is good work. If you're invested in the football community, I think it's important work. So, But Happy New Year, gentlemen, and we'll talk to y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon. Let's really try to do this again. If we can do it at the Shrine game, that would be great.
Yeah, awesome.
I definitely think there's a lot of things to build off of this idea, and to get a bunch of educated people at the same place creating genuine ideas on football and how that can snowball into other thoughts, ideas, and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's good. It looks like we're trading Jeff for Shane here.
Well, you're upgrading.
Oh, Pylon U exit, Pylon U enters.
Yeah, that's how it rolls. All right, guys, we'll talk to y'all next year.
All right, Shane. Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New
See
Year,
you,
man.
brother. Happy New Year.
Okay.
Great timing.
Yes. Seriously. I didn't even plan that. It's the magic of broadcast. Well, I think I spoke too soon. I'm not sure he's actually there yet. Going back to this game, because that's technically what this is about. Kinda. If you're LSU, major thing is hold on to the ball.
Yep.
Take all the air out of it. I mean, your MO is run the ball and getting 21, 12, 22 personnel.
Exactly.
high percentage passes. So, I mean, that's kind of built for a 4-minute offense. But
Right.
even more importantly now than anything else, hold on to the ball. Don't panic if Louisville scores here.
Exactly.
Just play your game. Don't panic. Just get that ball back, drain clock, because their offense is moving the ball now. Like, it's not like they're going to have to sacrifice moving the ball far downfield for
Right.
bleeding the clock and running a run-oriented offense with high percentage throws. I mean, they're moving the ball.
Right.
So they don't have to – it's not like other teams where, they may be a high-octane spread passing team, and now they're in a 4-minute offense, and they're forced to chuck it around the yard. Like, that's just not what their offense is.
For sure.
This is a – sorry, you go first.
No, they have to stick with their game. What they've been doing sort of naturally runs clock on its own, which I think – oh, you gotta make that play.
I couldn't
crosser.
I couldn't tell who was overthrown.
Looked like they just weren't quite on the same page. I guess we'll see the play. He did not stretch his arms.
Yeah.
He had room to run too.
Louisville's had maybe a play here, a play there, but they haven't looked offensively in sync all game long.
No. Just plays like that, the jump balls, 50-50 contested catches, none of them are going Louisville's way.
No.
They're just not quite there.
LSU's winning on any opportunity they can, which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of ball game left. I didn't think Michigan was going to come back as fiercely the way they did and only lose by 1. But you never know. That's why they play the game now.
Exactly.
This is going to be a really crucial drive for LSU.
Heck, even if they don't score, but get a couple of first downs, kill 4 or 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
That's as good as a quick score practically.
I mean, Louisville's done a good job of being patient and not forcing things, but let's get them in a position where we can get them to chuck the ball down the field in tight coverage. And because I think Lamar hasn't forced any throws tonight. I don't think.
No.
This morning, this afternoon, whatever. He hasn't forced many throws, but he has missed a couple, and maybe when it's all said and done, the dust settles, that we find out he hasn't been as economic with his pocket movement as possible.
Yeah.
So I think if they get to pressure him, they drain the clock, get Louisville the ball with under 8 minutes to go, get him to force the ball in the coverage, and who knows? LSU's DBs can make some plays. So we're going to welcome Jeff back into the fold.
Oh, on the phone with Comcast for half an hour. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey.
We had Shane just head off, so we traded one Pylon U member for another.
Twitter is telling me Lamar Jackson is bad, so I'm going to go with that.
All right, well that's something.
It's funny how things can change in a matter of weeks.
It's bothersome that everything's so absolute, because I think you could put any quarterback in this situation the way this LSU defense is playing and have the same result, because they look like world beaters right now.
Mm-hmm. From my perspective, it definitely looks like LSU is winning up front in pass rush. They're fitting things in the run game. Their DBs are very fast flow to support, not just Adams, but everybody else. Their DBs are making plays on the ball and tight man coverage and winning the one-on-ones. Has Lamar missed some throws? Yeah. There are some gimmies in the short area that should have been completed. But I don't know if I can fault him entirely for the performance from this angle.
Was possibly, I mean, the ball was there, but it may have been one of the situations that, like I was talking about earlier, about taking a little steam off the ball and just lobbing it up there, given how much room the receiver had to run after the catch.
Yeah.
Now, in the NFL, like, that ball is going to be caught. But at that level, you kind of have to know your receivers and know what you need to do with the ball in order to put them in the best position to make a play.
I'm real time with you guys now too. So Sal, scream.
Oh,
like,
really? Sweet.
LSU.
I'm really excited for Bauer, man. I want to continue to watch him. I have done some preliminary work on him. Got a good, been exposed to him a good deal, but he's an interesting player.
It's interesting too because he's a senior,
Right.
and it's by his senior year he really has been mentioned a lot. Oh, there we go.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh.
That's
Oh.
a PTPer right there, guys. Primetime player.
Oh, that poor kicker.
That was a kicker? Oh boy.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a kicker.
Oh, you gotta come on. You gotta teach the kickers the form.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the easiest way he could have been tackled.
You could have just laid down on the ground and tripped him up.
That probably would have been more painful. Well, let's see how LSU is going to go about bleeding this clock. Looks like 11 personnel.
It's interesting.
Huh.
They can do that at both. They don't have to just stay in one set and do it. That's what makes them good. Their line's solid. And
It was interesting decision making. Louisville going for the field goal there.
Yeah, we talked about that a bit. 20 versus 17 down. I don't know how much that helps you.
Yeah.
I think more than anything else, as a confidence booster, to have some points on the board.
Yeah.
To end a drive. Otherwise, you risk going for it on fourth and not converting. That could be deflating.
Oh, we got turn.
That was.
Looks like he underthrew Chark a little bit there. And
Yeah, it was flag.
Hope this corner for Louisville's okay. I know they've already had some problems depth-wise at DB, but
Now, what is both of your takes on how the corner should play that ball? There's some people that advocate for playing like he did there. There are also some that advocate for turning when the receiver's head looks up.
24 isn't in phase until later in the rep, but he still has opportunity to turn his head and at least play the ball.
Yep.
If he turns his head a little earlier, I think he has a chance to at least get a hand in there. But unfortunately, it looks like he got into a collision with the high safety trying to break up the ball and got twisted up a little bit. Now, if that ball was a little more underthrown and he turns his head, it's a pick. In which case, the receiver's got to become a DB, really, and become the defensive player and get that ball away out of harm's way.
Well, my thing is that if you have safety help over the top, the corner should make a play on the ball, not just turn and face guard the receiver. It turn
Right.
on the ball because you have safety help over the top. He's cleaning any of that up.
Right. Definitely, that's a good point.
Yeah, he's got to flip around earlier. I know some coaches always go with the old, when you see his eyes widen, that's when you flip around. That was my high school football coach. I don't know how in the world you do that, to be honest with you. That's what he said every time. But I think you have to, when he's turning and looking and starting to get his hands ready, especially like we said, Jeff, with safety help over the top, he's got to flip around, at least get the head back. Because, that's an underthrown ball, so it's tough for the DB there to not get pass interference called. Because the receiver's going to try to come back, but
it's also not a black and white call. I think
exactly.
Certain refs may call it differently. Even though the rule may be set as something,
right.
It's definitely managed, just like other penalties can be, and managed in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know the stats on Dupree right now, but I imagine they look pretty good.
He's at a career high in the second quarter, so it's nice little.
Pull back in the flat.
Yeah, and that's a really nice extension of the run game. There's not a high chance that doesn't get caught, so the clock's going to keep running, but it keeps – it was a 15-yard gain,
Yeah, no doubt. Again, it's the same operation, same scheme, same attack point, regardless of who's in at tailback.
Mm-hmm.
When Leonard Fournette played, the game plan looked a lot like this in terms of, having a base structure and then having other wrinkles, whether it be based on formation, motion, or concept, depending on whatever defense they're playing.
It was a great play by, I believe it was D'Angelo Brown, 97 for Louisville.
Yeah. Stringing that thing out.
Yeah, quick swim move to disrupt on the backside, then great chase to make the tackle.
I really like the way LSU's approached this game on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the way, Louisville hasn't varied much from what they did in the regular season, and not that you should, but you have to simplify some things if things aren't going well.
Yeah.
And LSU has done a really good job of just keeping the game plan simple and putting Etley in a good position to make, putting him in a pretty decent position to make plays.
They throwing a flag on Louisville here?
I think it was holding.
Could be.
It was an uncatchable ball, but I think it was holding before the pass was thrown.
Okay, yeah.
It's been a tale of two offenses, for sure. One of them is in sync and has been able to generate some rhythm and momentum, and the other one really has not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hold.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big opportunity for LSU here to punch one in.
Yeah, that would just about.
Not in goal-to-go territory yet, but they're darn close. 21 personnel.
Tried to run that screen again where they bring.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a screen or it was just a drop back, and he was trying to get the ball away because of pressure.
Either way, that's the type of decision he should have made earlier in the game when he threw that pick.
Exactly.
Rounded.
Yeah, that's true. 15-yard grounding penalty ain't as bad as a pick going the other way. That play could really turn the game on its head. Had it gone for 6. LSU's unbalanced here. Run power back door.
There may have been a hole there blocking on 63. No flag.
Yep, it looks like there's a flag on the play.
Oh.
Nope, they picked it up. Close call there for Louisville. That could have been a 15-yard and a first down.
Yeah, early in the play
backbreaker. You gotta be smart in this situation. Third down has really told the tale as well.
Yeah.
6 of 13 versus 0 for 13. Man. That's a tough way to win a football game, not convert on third down. Motion to trip set, 4-man rush, inside twist. Good job by Elton, escape in the pocket. He's going.
Wow. I don't think he got that.
He may be a bit short, but that's a good job of, that's toughness right there, laying it all out like that, the quarterback position, and keeping eyes downfield in the pocket. Felt the twist, felt pressure behind him, got contact, and escaped it.
Yeah, that was nice.
Ideally, you'd like to score a touchdown here, but they'll take the 3 points if they can get it here.
Right. I mean, that's 5-minute drive to bring it right back to a 20-point lead. I mean, that's not at all. You leave Louisville just over 10 minutes to score 20 points if this goes in.
Which it will.
Which is why that going for the field goal earlier for Louisville makes even less sense. I understand that you want to get points on the board and less confidence, but you're still trying to win the game, and if you don't get it there, you leave LSU in deep territory. But
exactly.
I mean, there was a short field for them because of the guy's kick return, and this game has got to. I mean, for Etling especially coming in next year with the same basic quarterback situation next year, Etling's got to get some confidence out of this game. If he knows he's the starter going into next year, whereas last year he was a transfer and behind Brandon Harris and had to catch up.
I think it's definitely a great opportunity for LSU to have a guy like Etling and have competition behind him before they start thinking about rushing into freshmen. Now those freshmen get to sit and learn, and that's where people talk about the pro level quarterbacks being able to sit and learn as rookies and they get further in the beginning of their contract, but especially at the collegiate level, because we're still talking about 17, 18, 19-year-old kids now, and they're maybe in some instances they're moving away for the first time, and it's different social circumstances, it's different living circumstances, it's different academic circumstances, it's different football circumstances. There's all major things to consider in a young person's life, and nobody really thinks about that when they think about a true freshman taking the field, especially at the quarterback position. So to be able to have Etling in the final year, his eligibility, as well as some veterans per se behind him that have seen the wars and have been in games before, I think that's big for any young quarterback on that roster right now that has the opportunity to go through that transition process, not be thrust into action, okay, and then when they're ready to have that opportunity. That's why I have a lot of admiration for what a guy like Jalen Hurts is doing in Alabama as a true freshman, and he's taking his lumps, and he's not perfect, but how composed he is, and obviously, the on-field physical and mental ability speak for themselves. But his composure as a freshman to be able to do what he's doing at a very high level, and we'll see if he can continue that today. But that's why, I think it's important to acknowledge that process from the high school to collegiate level and how that's working in LSU's favor with some veterans at the top of that depth chart.
Yeah, the other nice thing about having Etling for another year and how he's playing pretty solid is it gives them sort of a bridge so that Coach Canada, the OC, he's got a year to recruit guys, and then they're not coming in their freshman year having to play immediately, right? He's got a year of Etling to bridge, bring guys along, and then, the second year in his system, they'll have learned it, and then they're ready. They're not completely new to being collegiate athletes. So I think that's big for them too.
No doubt.
Etling is sort of a bridge to the new recruiting classes.
I'm with you, 100%.
Yeah, they've got the number 6 recruiting class in the country coming in. They've got a 4-star quarterback, in Miles Brennan, but no one's going to come in, and I don't think he's going to be ready to take reps right away.
Right.
So, and with a fairly veteran LSU team coming back and keeping the continuity and the coaching staff that we talked about before, I think this is a team that's going to be able to go for the title next year and get what they can out of Etling. So this is, I think things are trending. I mean, credit to Coach O for keeping the ship, for righting the ship mid-season.
No doubt. Well, LSU can pin their ears back now.
45.3 points per game. That's crazy for Louisville this year.
Yeah. Haven't broken 120. Yeah.
That's just tight coverage again.
Adams making a play. That's one-on-one. Who's going to make the play?
Yep.
You're going to miss somewhere on that throw. You got to miss long.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, otherwise, that ball is coming the other way.
Yeah, it was that close to. I mean, Jamal Adams had a chance.
Got to wrap up there. 99 does, but still,
I think you'll give them that.
It is tough sledding on that interior.
Yeah.
Football is about matchups, and that matchup's being won by LSU tonight, and that's an important matchup to win. Now you're forcing, I believe it's third and long, 3rd and 5, so not long, but
Oh, nice throw.
oh boy,
Wow. Oh, if he gets off that, he's gone.
there's Staples. Haven't heard his name too often tonight.
He'll disappear at times. I mean, they've got Quick, they've got Bonifant. There's no real number one guy, so any of those guys can kind of fade into the background given the matchups in the game. So I think a good NFL draft evaluator is going to take a look at Staples and not confuse his inconsistent production with actually what he could actually or possibly do in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like those LSU receivers you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I think it's also a good opportunity to see what he does Staples-wise as far as, if you're looking at a highly regarded receiver who may not have gaudy statistics and may not get the ball as much, what is he doing away from the ball? Is he contributing in the run game? Is he still running his routes with proper execution? If he's not in the point of attack and the pass concept. Is he still doing his job? And can you rely on him if the ball is going to go to him last second? And is he a guy you can count on? And those are all things you can tell from watching the tape. In this situation, I haven't gotten a chance to see Staples often. I know I will, and he'll be in Mobile, and that'll be interesting to see him. But I definitely think there's a positive in every kind of situation. If he's not getting the ball like other receivers are, you can definitely get an idea of what he's doing when he's not the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
But big play there. I think that was Louisville's first 3rd down conversion of the game.
It was.
Out of about 15 attempts or so, which, I guess better late than never, but 3rd down tells a lot of the story. Turnover margin tells a lot of the story. Explosive plays tell a lot of it. But to go 1 for 14 on 3rd down is, against a good defense and a good offense that can control the ball and block things up well at the line of scrimmage and win on the perimeter, especially against this scheme in the back end for Louisville. That's going to be the end all of it.
Still, I'm just disappointed in the approach because, Brandon Ratcliffe touches the ball 5 times all game. Picatinny's got 1 catch. They're still focused on, the Lamar Jackson runs, the wide receiver routes, not looking at the underneath stuff, knowing that LSU is going to be covered. They're going to be disciplined enough. Lamar Jackson's their number 1 focus. So I'm just surprised that Louisville and you saw this a little bit late in the year, their inability to adapt to situations and perhaps alter their game plan. And it's kind of rearing its head today again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think part of that is, if one team is noticeably better than the other along the line of scrimmage, that'll affect your game plan very negatively. And I think in drop back game when Louisville's been asked to man up those DTs, and they've won in pass rush, LSU has, and they've won on the interior, they've won on the edge. So dropping back has been a struggle. They've been getting home with 3, which obviously is not what you want as an offense. So, there's only so much you can do when there's that kind of established victory along the line of scrimmage. There's definitely some things you can do. It makes it a tough world to live in, though, for sure. That's why I don't think Louisville is reaching too deep into a bag of tricks, because I think maybe their thought is anything too out of the ordinary for them could be counterproductive and result in a turnover or repetitive negative plays, and that's why maybe they think their best chance is to run their offense. We'll see it. They're in the 2 wing set trying to run their base offense right now because that's how they move the ball, blocking it up front and maybe a misfit that'll help too, and then the ball gets upfield. So credit LSU's defense, though. They've been on their game today. They've been in their spots and they've kept things in front of them, which is good.
Hmm.
3rd and 7. Yeah, they're just not in sync.
They're just missing. But LSU's not giving them a bit to – there's no separation at all.
No, not at all.
And when there is, they're winning the one-on-ones on defense.
This is so much nicer watching the game at the same time as you guys,
Right.
rather than 2 plays behind.
Power read, 3rd and long. Water is wet.
Good job by Radcliffe right there.
Yeah. Different formation there. I couldn't tell if there's tight end in the game or not, but power read, stretch into the boundary. Well, actually, they're both going to the boundary technically. But yeah, that's a good job of Jackson of making a play, and now they're going to go play action off of it.
Nice throw.
Yeah, it was nice. Right in stride.
And when he sets his feet and squares up, I mean, it's not every throw, but when he does, he's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And he generates a lot of torque on his throws. A lot of torque, a lot of speed, a lot of velocity.
I like that play too, getting them out of the pocket a bit, but he's got time to set his feet again, reestablish.
Ooh, yep.
I think they're going to get the defender here for the flag, but I mean, overall, I think, and again, it's tough because we can only see so much from this perspective, but I think Louisville's defense has done a good job of maintaining proper relationship with the receivers in scramble drill. I mean, they must have repped that a million times, knowing they're going against this quarterback.
Yeah.
And what he can do when he leaves the pocket. We really haven't seen any broken plays, big downfield from the scramble, and they've tightened that deal up pretty good.
I think when you have a front seven is athletic and is as fast as LSU's, you have a little more confidence for the DBs to stick on the receiver.
Right.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, you just got to know when the fight's over, you know.
You calling that incomplete?
I'm not sure if it got back to the line. But they haven't called anything yet. Yeah. You know, I understand you want to make a play, but you got to know when the fight's over there.
Did we already talk about for next episode coordinating the glasses situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt a little left out, guys. Thanks
I
for
know.
that.
I'm sorry. We were all talking about it. We just decided not to tell you.
Go contacts. I could do.
We'll go contacts this time.
I'll comb my hair too. Sal's hair looks amazing right now.
It really does. Great stuff.
I'm trying, you know.
That's Tom Luganville-esque right there.
I wouldn't go that far yet. Would not go that far. I can't reset the profile like he does. Those swing screens. 2nd and goal from the 14.
Nice catch.
Yeah, haven't seen that a lot tonight. Contested catch situation.
Yeah, it's about always gone LSU's way.
Yeah.
Actually, on offense and defense for them.
Yeah, definitely. Third medium, unbalanced set. If he gave the ball, he's walking the end zone. I don't know if it was a design keep or what, but if he gave that football, he was walking into the end zone.
Yeah.
That's another guy, Jeremy Smith, who's been almost absent from this game plan today, who is a bulldozer of a running back who had some pretty big games this year.
Yeah.
I don't understand not diversifying, using all the different weapons that you have on the field, especially when you know your receivers are going to be matched up against arguably the best secondary in the nation. But Jeremy Smith, I mean, a good running back who's going to take over for Radcliffe next year and just hasn't been utilized. Oh, God.
Yeah, maybe they could do other things. They probably could. But I don't know. I don't know if Louisville's going to consistently be. I mean, Louisville hasn't been able to consistently race these guys to the perimeter in the run game.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Jamal Adams there. I mean,
Just amazing.
That's
I
great.
think they had a good play on, but I mean, that'll happen. He's a good player, man. He'll make those plays. To be able to read, run that quick. I mean, to have that pre-understood notion of fourth down, and that's from film study, that's from coaching, that's from understanding what they can do, run pass wise, and at that part of the field so condensed, and just trusted your instincts and going, from the safety position. Talked about him to quite a bit of an extent tonight, or today. I keep saying tonight. But for well reason, because he's a good football player. Well, it was a good chance for LSU here to take a lot more air out of the ball.
Yeah. Couple first downs and it's just about over, I'd say.
And the way they've been playing today, I think a few first downs isn't totally out of the question.
No, not at all.
Do we think there's any way, now that this game has kind of played out, that LSU could have improved their chances, or do we think that that matchup-wise, that maybe it just wasn't looking good for them after all?
Louisville, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they really just got – it's tough. I mean, they got almost dominated start to finish. I mean, no big plays. LSU's defense was wrapping up, and I think the scheme could have been better, but at the end of the day, their receivers were getting locked down on almost every pass play aside from the deep ball. And, I mean, the run game wasn't explosive enough to beat them. So, I mean, I think you got to give credit where credit's due to LSU's defense.
Absolutely. No doubt. Their big-time players have shown up big time in this game.
Yep.
Over and over and over again. Front's been playing well. Outside of that corner post that led to a field goal. I mean, that's,
yeah.
You want to talk about explosive play, that's basically it.
I mean, they could have given themselves a better chance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep harping on the same thing. It seems like they're out of sync. It seems like they're trying to be too fancy to overcome the LSU defense. I mean, they've had 59 plays from scrimmage. 50 of those have ended with the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands. And as good as he is, you have to understand two things. Is that, okay, that's too much. And then the second thing is that there's one guy LSU's keen on, and that's Lamar Jackson. So maybe, put it in Ratcliffe's hand, put it in Smith's hand. There wasn't enough variation. And you always talk about, running, even if the run is not successful, you at least have to run the ball to keep them honest.
Right.
Yep.
And it just doesn't seem like they varied from that. They varied their offense enough to even keep them honest or give them a shot.
So, I mean, they are in a good position to bleed the clock out, but they are backed up. So, let's see, Louisville's plan of attack, or excuse me, LSU's plan of attack here against Louisville.
Kentucky making a furious comeback.
I was about to say.
Wow.
That quarterback's a player. He's not bad. Even more backed up. Well,
The offense jumped 84.
I'm not sure if that edge player walked into the neutral zone.
I think this can go either way. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Ooh.
Tell you what, LSU lucked out there. Don't want to be on the -1.
Yeah, I don't think that's what Bobby should be upset about right now.
No.
That one call is not.
dead to rights at no yards gain and managed to turn his feet and fall forward for 4.
Yeah.
One team has tackled better and fit the run better, and one team has not. Again, 3rd down, but it's 3rd and 3.
Right.
Whole playbook's open.
I could definitely see them doing that play action, hit the fullback in the flat again.
Right, and that's something that can keep Louisville on their toes. And if those force players, those kind of those outside run support players are too cautious of this, they could leave themselves susceptible to the run.
Oh, yeah. Nothing
Go
wrong
back
with
in the
getting
flat.
5 here.
Brought the tight end over.
Yep. Little slide concept.
Nice. They've really done some good things with the play action. Just short passes, simple stuff, but high percentage throws for Edling.
Right. That's key, high percentage. Not forcing the quarterback. Because now rollout and play action stuff doesn't necessarily automatically mean high percentage, but it all depends on the formation you're in. If you want to dress it up with motion or anything like that, what circumstances give your quarterback the most cushion to work with?
Yeah.
The most room to work with. Especially, you're not going to ask Danny Etling to make window shot throws, especially in a situation like this where you're trying to just chew some clock. But yeah, I agree. That's a good job of planning. Assuming Louisville doesn't call a timeout right now, this clock's going to go past 4 minutes.
Yeah, still 20-point ball game. That's
Ton of credit to LSU's offensive coordinator, Steve Ensminger here.
No doubt.
yeah.
Took over
Simple but creative.
Yeah, took over midseason. He's on his way out, but really called a solid game.
Yeah.
Just to this LSU staff as a whole, they're doing a really good job. Did a really good job in preparation, getting their guys in the right spots, offensively, defensively, special teams. Just doing a really good job. It seems like getting their guys in the right spots, coaching wise, and the players have responded in a big time way. So I think the credit's got to go to Coach O and his staff, and they did a good job on this one for sure. Now they just got to close it out. If you're Louisville, it's just continue to build and move on to next year, and Lamar continue to get stronger in the weight room and continue to build a presence vocally and command that locker room even further, and continue to develop next year. That's really all you can do. And it's not like this team's in an abysmal state. As long as they had number 8 at quarterback, they're going to be okay.
Yeah. He's a young
Not
guy.
sure what happened there. They could have. Looks like LSU's going to have to call a timeout now. A little miscommunication.
Louisville is very much going to be in the thick of things again. Again, just because Lamar Jackson's there, but you're having Clemson's losing Deshaun Watson, and Florida State's going to be. You saw last night where they're going to be, and they've got 18. Florida State has 18 starters back next year. I think Louisville very much is going to be right in the thick of things in the race again, and probably sitting right around this 8-4, 9-3 mark next season. So it may be more, but it all depends on how. Louisville's losing a number of defensive starters: Devontae Field, Josh Harvey-Clemens, that are gonna leave, and they need to fill those spots. But they're in a good place. It's been a good season, and I think despite what looks like it's gonna be 9-4, I think you still look at it as a success.
Yeah. It's a real coming out party for them.
Talking about Florida State players that'll be back next year. One of them won't be Dalvin Cook. It looks like he just declared.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it's a surprise. He'll find a home relatively quickly in the draft process. Good 3rd down run. Haven't seen as much pin pull stuff from LSU. LSU, and I haven't seen a lot of isolation run. That's one thing with Geis or Fournette in the game they've ran a lot of. A little bit more power. That's how they got the touchdown run. Must have felt they had a matchup. If you can run the ball inside with effectiveness, ideally you should, or you can rather. And they really have done that all game long. And they've controlled this game from start to finish. And barring an unforeseen comeback, it looks like they've done almost enough to put a bow on this thing.
This Washington team is going to surprise some people tonight.
I think you're absolutely right, Jeff. I don't know why people write them off. I think they're here for a reason. I think they're extremely well coached. I think they have an abundance of good football players. There's obviously going to be some areas where Alabama has a good situation going, and it may be tough for Washington, but, I mean, that's a good football team and a well-coached football team. And I'm not sure who's going to win. But I don't think it's going to be a lopsided deal one way or the other.
They've got the offensive line to protect Browning. I mean, they've got a really good offensive line. I'm
worried about them, honestly. I think if I'm worried about any one position group, that Alabama pass rush, when they get in their nickel, I mean, they're mostly in nickel.
Yeah.
But even in the run game, Jonathan Allen is a force to be reckoned with. Tim Williams is improving as a run defender, and he can really rush the passer. Ryan Anderson's about as steady as a player as there is in the SEC. Reuben Foster's a man. Deshaun Hand is a good player. 94, I'm forgetting his name for whatever reason, but he's a real solid player as well. That whole deep front is unbelievable. They get after the passer and they stuff the run. Their secondary support against the run is great. They cover well. John Ross needs to get the ball often in this game. His speed is outstanding. His ability to manipulate on routes in the deep part of the field is outstanding. His run after catch ability is outstanding. He's probably a sub 4.4 guy. I think the quarterback, obviously, like you mentioned, is good. They can run the ball well. They're going to have to get creative. I don't know if they can just go downhill, line up and base stuff and go downhill against these guys. It's just not going to happen. It's going to get to a point where Alabama's going to wear them out. And then, oh my goodness. Well, that'll do it.
Well, that puts a bow on it.
That's
jeez.
That's a good representation of the game right there.
Yeah.
Lamar gets a crease and starts swinging the ball a little bit too much in the open field, and ball pops out. Now we're about a first down away from closing this thing. It looked like, it's quarterback outside run and went to juke. He
just lost it.
Yeah, he looked like he was trying to juke, and the ball was in his inside hand. It looked like he almost forgot it was in his inside hand.
His own player.
Yeah. I mean, this should not take away from the outstanding season he's had, but I think, if you want to look at an example of him play against a defense who may have some mismatches up front and on the perimeter, and you strip that all away and look at how one player performs, I don't think you can deny that this is not his best game, given these circumstances, which are more likely to occur in the pros than just being the best and having the best players around you. Because unless you're playing in New England or Seattle or Dallas, that ain't the case.
Well, they're an explosive offense who makes, they just said most fumbles in the nation this year. And if the big plays aren't hitting, they're not scoring.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly what's going on.
I would like to see them next year go to more of a standard running game and let Lamar drop back and throw it, and maybe they do gain a little bit more efficiency doing it that way. But I think they wouldn't be as explosive, but I think they might win more games. There'd be less volatility from a game-to-game basis with their offense.
Right. Know what you're going to get. But going back to the earlier games, I think, we've talked about Hurts before, but Jalen Hurts for Alabama, but he is a true freshman playing in the national semifinals. I'm not worried about his poise. I think he is poised beyond his years. But he is a freshman, and on field he makes freshman mistakes. And he may miss some reads, and he may put the ball in places where it may not supposed to go. And that Washington defense, they get after people. And those DBs find the ball. their interior stuffs the run and firms up the inside of the pocket and prevents rushing lanes or scramble lanes rather. I don't know. I obviously see some areas where Alabama can have an advantage, but to write off Washington would be I don't think it'd be the right thing to do.
Yeah. No, it should be good. I mean, Alabama's obviously the favorite, but there's a path for Washington to win. You get some explosive plays on offense, and I mean, they got the talent on defense. A couple of turnovers, force Hurts to, force him into freshman mistakes, and I think there's a path for them to win. So I'm excited for both games tonight.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think you can afford to, if you're Washington, make Hurts beat you because you have King and you have Jones on the outside and Baker at safety. And this may be a case where Alabama leans a little more on O.J. Howard like they did in last year's playoffs, and Washington is forced to drop Buda Baker down into the box to cover him.
Right.
It's a chess game that's going to happen tonight. And
Absolutely.
And not many people understand that Washington has the pieces to hang with Bama. But I think they do, and ultimately I still think Bama wins, but I think it's going to be closer than people think.
Yeah. That's where I am as well.
Well, this game was one-sided for all 4 quarters, in my opinion. And, the second quarter is when things started to heat up for LSU, but this was all LSU. This was all LSU's front causing problems. LSU's DBs making plays in the red area, in open field, contested situations. LSU's run game and offense was far better. The staff putting Danny Etling in good situations. LSU's receivers, when called upon, making plays. Dupree had an outstanding game. And then that running back, Darius Guice, man, you better watch out for him next year because it's going to look a lot like what happened this year when he had the opportunity to touch the ball 20, 25 times a game. He's undoubtedly one of, if not the best running back in the SEC going into next season. So, I was excited about doing this. I think today was outstanding, guys. I definitely want to do this again. I just want to hear your last takes on this game and anything else moving forward. So let's start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing end of the season for Louisville. I was most excited when the matchups came out. This was the one matchup, along with last night's game, that I really want to see Lamar Jackson against this LSU defense. I want to see how LSU's staff got this team up for this game. And I want to see how LSU look going into next year because I do think there's an opportunity for them. So we saw a lot of that today. And Louisville's got to regroup because it's going to be Lamar Jackson and a lot of departures next season. Again, I mentioned multiple times, not happy with the way they approach the game from an offensive standpoint, but the way LSU's defense is playing and the way Arden Key and Godshaw and Jamal Adams just, was all over the field today. And you can't like that guy anymore, but they just outplayed him in every respect. And, I definitely think we do this again. I definitely think I will make sure there's less technical difficulties on my end.
I do let Comcast know beforehand.
We should probably do a dry run like the night before, and do like a Friends episode, a Friends rerun on Nick at Night to that's a joke, but but no, this is awesome. This is awesome because I think we're able to talk things through and have a lot of different opinions on things. I think that's the best kind of football conversation there is.
Yep, no doubt. I totally agree with you on that. Ryan, what about you, man?
Yeah, no, very similar. This was thanks to Sal for putting this together. This was really cool. I know Shane brought up he's thinking we could do this for like the Shrine game, really talk about prospects, which would be a total blast. With this game, LSU, all 3 phases they dominated, and it's encouraging for them going into next year. A new coaching staff, but they look like they're rallying around it. Even the last fumble from Jackson, there were 5 or 6 guys running to that ball on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And they're up 20. The game's over basically, but they wanted it. They played fast. Their defense is really, really impressive. And the offense played well. They got Geist. They have star receivers. It'd be very interesting to see what those receivers' decisions are regarding the draft. But yeah, hey, thanks to Sal for putting this together. This was a total blast. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, thank you guys. this wasn't just me sitting up here and talking. I needed to have some really smart people, and, you know, Shane and Jeff and you, Ryan. You know, it was outstanding. I couldn't thank you guys enough for joining us. We got to do this again for sure. Get some different games in there. Get some more Pioneers on the line. And I think it'd be a really good deal. You know, as far as this game goes, obviously, I already said a little bit of it. Kind of more of a one-sided affair. You know, the film don't lie, but if you look at the numbers, I mean, Louisville rushed 35 times for under 70 yards. They threw for under 155 yards. Turned the ball over, I believe. I'm not sure if they turned the ball over, actually.
Fumble, right?
Yep, the fumble towards the end. So the turnover battle wasn't too bad. I believe that was even. But if you look at here, third down, Louisville's 2 of 17. You know, penalties, 8 penalties for 56 yards, excuse me. LSU dominated time of possession. They had the ball for about 35 and a half minutes. Louisville had it for 24 minutes. You know, 5.7 yards per pass as opposed to 7.5. It was just tail two offenses and two defenses, really.
Yep.
But, yeah, I couldn't thank you guys enough for coming on here. We'll do this again. Thank you guys for watching, or eventually watching. And we'll talk to you guys soon. So by way of Inside the Pylon, this is Sal Conti and Ryan DeCarm signing off.
Signing off.
Have a happy new year. Be safe, be merry, and be well. We will talk to you all soon. Good night, San Diego.